Greetings, Bat family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can always visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. To search for Holy BatCast, you'll find us. And if you're a big fan of the show and you want to support us, you can do that on Patreon. You go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, got to take a moment to say a big old thank you. Send you guys big hugs to all our patrons. You guys are amazing. You make the show that much easier to keep rolling. It's just so kind, and I hope you know that I appreciate it all the time. So you guys rock. My patrons, you guys are the best. So thank you to those guys. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your Bat host. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Letterboxd. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. This episode, we're going to catch up on a little bit of news. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I feel like the biggest news of the week has to do with a man whose face looks like clay. And then we got a buttload of questions to answer from you guys out there. So thank you for sending in your questions. I think that's going to keep us busy. And when I say us, I mean me, and I don't mean Jamie, and I don't mean Brendan. Both of those guys ditched me this weekend. Sad. I think with Jamie, part of it was my fault because of my own availability. But anyway, fortunately, I have other fabulous Bat friends who are willing to come through in a clutch. And this is one of my favorites. You've heard his voice a lot on the regular Real Fans show recently. Pretty much whenever we talk horror, he seems to pop up, just like Jason Voorhees. Just when you think he's gone, he pops back up. And he's been on this show as well. It's Mr. Preston Willis. Welcome back, Preston.
I'll take that comparison any day, Andy. I wish I was as large as one Jason Voorhees, but not quite. Dude,
well,
I'm on.
Not the chubby Jason from like Jason Goes to Hell. Like you don't want to be that big. Like that's
fair enough.
That's unhealthy. Like I worry about that Jason's cholesterol.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
I guess when you're a zombie, cholesterol less of an issue.
I'm on the bench. I've always got the headband on. I'm ready to go. You call me up. I'm here, my friend. Yes, we miss Jamie. We miss Brendan. But I'm excited to talk some new news today. And you mentioned I'm on a lot of the horror episodes. I mean, we are going to be talking about Clayface later. So that makes sense, right?
There is some horror elements to the character and to the news.
There we go.
Let's pretend this was all planned. I was like, a horrific Clayface. Do you know who likes horror? Preston Willis. So I actually called Jamie and Brendan and I was like, y'all, you're fired. You're fired for the week. We'll talk to you next week. Yeah, and Brendan was like, I told you I was out of town this weekend. I was like, dude, I don't remember these things. That was a week ago. I don't know what the hell
I don't take notes. Come on.
My God. Because the most important thing in my life is Brendan's travel calendar.
Well, and you know what?
Nothing else going on. I just sit around and wonder where Brendan's going to be today.
To be fair, I do want to congratulate Brendan on his new nephew. I thought that was awesome.
Oh, so that's what he's doing.
I guess so.
Visiting the newborn. Okay, it's allowed. That's really cute. Did they get the baby out of the tree, out of the eucalyptus tree, and enough to take pictures with it?
Ouch.
No. Okay. No, seriously. Yes, congratulations to Brendan and Brendan's family. And we miss you, Jamie. We miss you, Brendan. But, you know, it's good to have reliable spares. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, Catherine called herself a spare. So,
By the way, how awesome was it to have her on that Shazam non-spoiler episode? You need to have that lady around more on the podcast because she was awesome.
I mean, I have her around every day.
But on the show, on the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I could have her around any more than she's around. And I say that with love. I've had it no other way. But you're right. I agree. Like, it was fun doing the Valentine's Day and then the Shazam one. And so, yeah, I think we will be hearing more of her.
Oh,
and with Catherine, with you, like, who needs Jamie and Brendan?
You said it.
Anyway, I do appreciate you making the time, and those guys know I love them. But yeah, the show must go on, and we will continue.
Hey man, I'm happy to be here. Thank you again.
It's great to have you. Before we get to all of the fun things that we're going to talk about, I got to give a shout out to our pals over at Manscaped. They're kind enough to sponsor the show, and it's April now, guys. It is officially April. While we're recording this, it's April 1st, and I was just saying how much I hate April 1st, especially on the internet. It's annoying. But April, even more important than annoying people on April 1st with fake stories, April is Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. And so Manscaped is working really hard, just like they did last year, to raise awareness and fundraise for this great cause. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to remind you to check your golden nuggets this month for anything that might not be so golden. And while you're down there, shave your balls while you save your balls. That's great. Whoever wrote that,
Well done.
It's really good. Support a good cause. Go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. And so it is important, guys. We're getting older. Check your stuff. Check your junk. Look for anything a little out of whack. It's important. We want to stay healthy. We want to stay with our loved ones. So please do that. And big kudos to Manscaped for bringing awareness to testicular cancer. And also, as part of April, I gave you guys the little preview last couple episodes. They have a very special edition purple TCS, Testicular Cancer Society, Lawnmower 4.0 electric waterproof trimmer. So their Lawnmower 4.0 is already the best trimmer you can ever buy. I swear to you, I'm saying it and I mean it. It's the best. And now it looks even better. It looks even cooler. I said it looked like Mace Windu's lightsaber. And Brendan's like, or like the Joker. I'm like, yeah, that's actually better. Or the Joker. So if the Joker shaved his balls, he would use this purple lawnmower. I don't know if he does. And would his ball hair be green? I think it would be.
You know, one thing the Joker wouldn't worry about if he used Manscaped was those scars.
See, it's an excellent point. Exactly. It would be a much cleaner looking Joker. So the purple lawnmower is pretty badass. I will tweet a photo out of it so you folks can see it now that we're technically in April, but it's badass and I can't wait to get mine. But it's collectible. They're only making 10,000 of them. And so get yours because once they're gone, they're gone. And with the launch of this lawnmower, Manscaped will be donating $50,000 to the Testicular Cancer Society to help all those who are impacted by testicular cancer. So great cause, good products, and you're supporting Holy BatCast. Everybody wins. Go to manscaped.com, do some shopping, buy yourself something cool. If you have never gotten the lawnmower, and if you already have one, I get it. Like, do you need to? Treat yourself, but if you don't need to, I get it. But if you haven't done it yet, get one this month. The purple one's badass. And use the promo code BATSCAPED. Get your discount, get 20% off, get free shipping, and I promise you'll be happy with the product. So they're supposed to send me one. I've been waiting by the mailbox.
Well, they haven't sent you one yet? I've been enjoying mine.
Whoa?
No. No, I'm just kidding. I do enjoy Manscaped, though. I am a customer.
That's good. That's good. Catherine was literally out of town for a couple days this past week, and when she came home and she gave me a hug, she's like, "Ooh, you smell good." I was like, "See, Manscaped. There you go.
Look at you.
It works." So anyway, guys, go to manscaped.com. Check out what they've got. Do check out yourself too for any signs of anything that might be wonky. There's some tips and tricks on there on manscaped.com. And yeah, it's a good cause. It's a good company. And again, it's a way to support us in the process. So thank you guys. Manscaped.com. That promo code is BATSCAPED. Now let's get to some more fun stuff, shall we?
Let's do it.
Some news. Got a little bit of news. What's going on this past week? The first news is like, I don't know the right way to say this. It's like non-news, but kind of news. And that is because a certain scooper whose name I will just leave out of it, tried to get a scoop, and was like, "Oh, I hear they've already cast Superman, or I hear they're really close to casting Superman." And James Gunn knocking down those rumors, which we love. He said, "Not true. I haven't had a single talk with a single actor about the role, just making private lists, prepping material for auditions." And so I love that. What's nice to hear is that the process is starting as he's kind of getting his ducks in a row before he starts auditioning, before he starts having those conversations with actors for Superman. But also, I always just get that little bit of a thrill every time he slaps down a bogus rumor.
Dude, every single time. I mean, I don't know if folks are going to start learning just to not do this with DC, because I would be afraid, to be honest with you, at this point. I do not want a James Gunn tag in a tweet shooting my speculative rumor down. But boy, I'm happy to see it every time he does it. Yeah, man. I mean, it's nice to see that it doesn't seem that this process is being rushed along. That's for sure, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
seems to have taken his time on the script, which, as if we've learned anything as DC fans, it's very important just to take your time, right? I think that's what we all want. So, super excited to see that process is beginning. But yeah, obviously, it's kind of interesting to see that maybe we don't have anyone lined up as far as the cast goes, and he's kind of keeping to himself on that and shooting scoops down.
Yep. I will say, because he said he's making private lists. I'm sure he has a list.
Of course,
You
of
know, he's
course.
got to, right? He's directing it, he wrote it. I'm sure he has some ideas of who could possibly play it.
Oh,
Um
yeah.
but yeah, I mean it's gonna come, and I look forward to it whenever that happens. But yeah, it is not cast. It is not who this person allegedly claimed it was. And so um anyway, I thought it was fun and it was worth a mention.
Oh, for sure, man. I mean, I'm so excited for this project and can't wait to see where it goes. But hey, I trust James Gunn, and I'm just gonna kind of hang out until something's mentioned. No need to rush something along, right?
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Superman, though, we don't have to wait until 2025 to see a new Superman, because we are getting a new animated Superman. And this was something that a lot of fans were like, what's going on with that? So when they
Yeah.
announced the Batman Caped Crusader animated series, they also announced a new Superman animated series called My Adventures with Superman. And when everything went down with Cape Crusader getting um, shut down is the wrong word, but basically getting like, oh, it's not going to HBO Max, we're going to shop it elsewhere.
Sure.
And when all that happened, there was no updates, no news about My Adventures with Superman. And so, as all of that happened, and then eventually it landed at Amazon Prime, a lot of fans were like, "What about the Superman show? What's going on with that?" We finally have an answer, and the answer is we are still getting it. It's still coming out. It's going to be coming out later this year, which is exciting. We don't even have to wait a whole year for it, but it will be going to Cartoon Network, Adult Swim.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so just a reminder, Jack Quaid will be doing Clark Kent. Alice Lee will be Lois Lane. And so, yeah, what are your thoughts on us seeing this new show later this year on Adult Swim?
Well, it's so funny. When I stumbled across this news, I was like, "Oh my gosh, did Andy and Brendan like not just bring this up?" Like I thought it was so ironic. I felt like you guys just addressed like, "Yeah, what's going on with this show? Am I wrong in that?"
Yeah, no, we have brought it up, and I do think it was relatively recently too, where it was like, "Hey, whatever happened to that?" And I think it probably was on the last episode when we talked about Cape Crusader.
Yes, I think that's exactly right. So I was like, wow, that's really interesting news. Firstly, man, one thing that oddly stands out to me is, first of all, I'm happy that we're getting it, right? I'm happy that there's news out about it. I'm really excited for Jack Quaid to be Clark Kent and Superman. I really like that guy from The
Mhm.
Boys and from Scream, obviously. So I think that's a great kind of casting move from a voice aspect as far as that goes. But yeah, it's really interesting, the Adult Swim kind of maneuver, right? Because
Yeah.
we well, first of all, I don't know what we were expecting with this series, but I certainly didn't think it would be, sticking at home with Warner Brothers. I thought they might sell it off just like they did with Cape Crusader. So, um, do we think that kind of last minute they're making this more adult? Because when it was announced, I don't think that was any of the vibe that we got.
No, and I think that's exactly the question, is like, how adult is this? Because it was never pitched that way. Here's sort of the log line was the series will focus on Lois and Clark and their best friend Jimmy Olsen as they begin to discover how to work together as an investigative news team. The story will focus on Clark building up his secret identity while Lois is mentoring Jimmy and becoming a star reporter. And it will also focus on the budding romance between Clark and Lois. So,
Hmm.
like, nothing that doesn't sound in any way like some sort
Yeah.
of adult skewing animated series. And the animation style is kind of anime-esque.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like you do. I'm glad we're getting it. I'm looking forward to it. I think that it sounds promising, but the Adult Swim is sort of the big question mark. And I will admit my own ignorance here. Like, I don't have cable. I haven't watched Adult Swim in over a decade. So
Sure.
maybe everything in Adult Swim isn't like overtly grown up.
Yeah.
I don't know because it's been so long since I paid any attention to it, but it for me it did imply that like, oh, this was going to be more mature and it's going to be more edgy and it's going to be on it late at night. And if that's the case, I think none of us are expecting that. But
Yeah.
maybe it's
Yeah.
not. Maybe it's that's not it at all and this is just where it landed.
We're on the exact same page because I thought the same thing. I'm like, maybe they can still put this in Adult Swim and it just be, not adult leaning, maybe it can just,
Yeah.
be the regular thing. Um, yeah, it's really interesting. And it also brings up another question, and you guys kind of addressed this as well on roughly the same topic. It just makes me wonder how far along these shows really are. Like,
Yeah.
obviously you said we haven't seen anything on Cape Crusader, and I'm just so curious, like how much of this stuff that they actually have done. And yeah, I mean, hey, give me more Superman content. That's cool with me.
Well, I will say this, and this is purely speculative. I'm making this up, but I'm just making an educated guess. I mean, yes, this was announced 2 years ago. So
Right.
when this and Cape Crusader were announced, they
Yeah,
were already into development, and at some
sure.
point they started production. And so part of me does wonder if My Adventures with Superman is something that they had already gotten enough episodes finished before the changeover in leadership.
Mm,
And they're like, well, we've got them. And like, maybe they're just kind of burning them off in Adult Swim.
yeah, that's fair too.
I hope that's not true because I hope that it's a good show and I hope that we get more of it. But like, I don't know, it kind of makes me think of what they did with Beware the Batman many years ago, where they like, they started airing it
Mm,
at 2 a.m. just to burn off the
yeah,
episodes.
yeah.
And I'm like, I hope that's not the case, but it's something that crossed my mind is maybe they're like, well, we have some episodes finished already. Nobody wants to buy it like Prime bought Cape Crusader. So we own Cartoon Network. Let's just play it during Adult Swim.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it. And yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like you just said, we, own this network. We have this to dispose. Let's just drop it. I mean that yeah, I get that.
And again, I hope that's incorrect. I hope I'm
Sure,
completely
sure.
wrong and that they love the show and they're going to keep making the show and this is just where they think that it will be the most successful. It just feels like an odd fit to me.
It really
So I'm
does.
trying to like read the tea leaves of like why would it end up here of all places? Like why wouldn't you just put it on HBO Max at that point?
And it's just, I don't think we can stress enough like how incredibly quiet this series has been
Yeah,
since the
yeah,
initial announcement. Like we have heard nothing, and then this drops, right?
right. So
Yeah.
we shall see. I mean, I'm just glad we're getting to see it. I'm glad it wasn't completely canceled and disappeared, but
Yeah.
time will tell, like how committed they are to it and how many episodes we'll get and all that good stuff. But I'm hoping for the best and I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Same.
Something else I'm looking forward to checking out is the second half of season 4 of Titans. I'm one of
Yeah,
those
man.
people who still likes Titans. Sorry about it.
Hey, you know
I still
what?
like it.
That's cool.
I mean, it's one of those things where like for the people who don't like it, I get it. I get it. I'm not gonna eat your lunch over it. I totally get it. But for me, there's enough still that I really like about it. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the first half of season 4. I thought it was good. But then, much like My Adventures with Superman, it kind of
Right?
went quiet.
You're very quiet.
Did you watch season 4?
So, no, I am behind. I
Okay.
am behind. Now, I am not a person that doesn't like it. I am I'm about a season behind, and I'll be the first to tell you I am the worst when it comes to keeping up with series. Truly
Mhm.
pathetically awful. But I enjoy Titans, and certainly what I've seen of it, I enjoy, and I will continue it. But I am very aware of the sense where we were expecting the second half of a season to come out, and then we just haven't heard anything.
Yeah. Yep. And this is the end of it. They have announced that this and Doom Patrol are ending after season 4. And speaking of, I need to start season 4 of Doom Patrol. I haven't gotten to that yet.
Good point.
So I'm part of the problem. But yeah, this one, it was like, so yeah, when is the second half coming? So now we finally know. They released a trailer, and the new episodes will be dropping on April 13th. So in just shy of 2 weeks. But the big exciting thing for me is that we got our first look of Tim Drake as Robin.
Man, dude, they do not miss with these costumes. Let me tell you that.
And that's the great thing about Titans is, like, yes, the show, some people love it, some people hate it. Honestly, there's some people in between. But I feel like everyone agrees that whoever does their costumes nails it. And they nail it every time. And they've nailed it since the very beginning. That very first Robin costume that we saw for Brenton Thwaites before the show premiered, starting there all the way through until now. And some, blessed soul on the internet put together a collage of every Titans costumes from the 4 seasons. And yeah, just one after another. Just so great. Hawk and Dove look so good in live action, so much better than they ever should. And they nailed it. All that is to say, they've done it again with Tim Drake. And as a huge Tim Drake fan, I've enjoyed his portrayal on the show. Like everything else on the show, they're doing their own thing with him. He's Tim Drake, but there are a lot of details that have changed. But I like the actor, and I've appreciated his arc. And I did hope, I just hope that he gets a chance to be Robin before the series ends. And he is. So he gets his own Robin costume, and this is the third one they've done, because they had Dick Grayson's Robin costume, they had Jason Todd's, and now they've got Tim's, and each one is slightly different, and they're all great.
Dude, if I had to pick out a favorite thing of this newest Robin costume, I love the cape. The cape is awesome. I love those kind of not ripped, but kind of V'd off, the bottom of it. It looks really cool.
Yeah, and that is, God, I feel like I associate that sort of cape with Damien more than Tim.
Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, like they still did a pretty traditional Robin costume, but gave it enough new details and enough changes to make it stand on its own. But he looks great. It is unmistakably Robin. I love the mask. I love the outfit. He looks fantastic. So I'm so happy that we're going to at least get this. He is our first live action Tim Drake. And I like that, he is getting to be Robin before we say goodbye.
This is really neither here nor there, but I am curious what you think about this. Of course, you're obviously more up to date than I am. I want to take in as much of this costume as possible, but I wonder if it's going to be like a season finale kind of thing, or a franchise finale for that matter.
Right. It's possible.
Yeah,
because that's what they did with Nightwing. I think it's season 2. The end of season 2 was I think we got Nightwing just in the final episode. It's possible, right? But who knows?
Yeah,
I'll take what I can get, and it looks great. And again, however you feel about the show, it's all good. For the folks who are like, Robin doesn't work in live action, I'm like, man, Titans has now proven that incorrect 3 times. And each of them have looked great, and each of them have felt still very much like Robin.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm really looking forward to it, and this gives me, more motivation to get back on it and get caught up, to be honest.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how it all wraps up, but it's a show that, certainly has its ups and downs, but I have enjoyed the ride. And, kind of what I got to earlier is it's one of those, like, the best way to enjoy it is to go, they're doing their own thing. And at the very, the season premiere of season 4, I liked it, but there was a moment where I was like, up, and there they go again. They're doing their own thing. So you roll with it or you don't, and all's good. But Yeah, I think the costume is amazing, and I'm looking forward to finishing the series up.
And dude, it's so funny, here we are at the, the end of Titans, the beginning of the end of Titans, season 4, you said. It feels to me, and I don't, and this has nothing to do with the show itself. I feel like that show like has been going on for a decade because of how it started in the sense of, I mean, we're talking about DC Universe, right? Like what
Yeah.
was the streaming like where it started
I
in
saw the first trailer for
yes,
Titans at Comic-Con 2018. And it was
2018.
and it was at the DC Universe Pavilion at Comic-Con in San Diego.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
Yeah.
that feels like a decade ago.
Yeah. And and sometimes I still have that attitude where I'm like, man, we got 4 seasons of this show. Who would have thought we would have gotten 4 seasons of this show? So it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm kind of just grateful we got that much of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially because it was for DC Universe and
It's
that
crazy.
changed. So the fact that we got 2 more after
Yeah.
DC Universe, became comics. So
It really says a lot. And I have one more question for you. And this is coming from someone that, again, bad with TV. I never finished this other one I'm about to reference, and I still need to catch up with Titans. What is better, Gotham or Titans?
Titans.
Okay. All
In
right.
in my opinion, that's actually a fascinating question, and
Yeah.
I would love to hear what the consensus is. I think I'm gonna put that as a Twitter poll because I am so curious. Because both of them have very similar reactions where people are into them or
Yeah.
they are not. Um, I prefer Titans by a long shot, actually. Um,
Okay. Okay.
because again, like Gotham, there were things that I liked about it, but it was another Batman-less Batman show. Um, and so they did some of the villains in a fun way, but like I love the Bat family, and because
Of
of
course.
Titans, I have seen Dick Grayson and Jason Todd and Tim Drake, not
Yeah.
to mention the Titans themselves. And again, even if you don't like the stories, which I get, all of those actors in all of these roles are
Mhm.
spot on. Hawk and Dove and Starfire and Beast Boy and Raven, all of those actors nail it.
That's a
And I
good
think
point.
that's what's so frustrating about the show to some people is it's like and even to me is like you've got everything you need. You have the perfect cast, the perfect designs, you've got it. And yet you make some weird ass storytelling decisions.
Yeah, you gotta complicate things in that
Yeah,
department.
like why you overthinking it? Like you've got everything you need, now do it. And they're like, "Yeah, but what if? No, 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 what if?" Like do the
Yeah.
thing. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think I like Titans cuz they are characters that we have generally not seen in live action and they are all really good.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I still give you massive credit for making it all the way through Gotham. You were strong.
you know, there are ups, there are downs. but and it was one of those things where like I was like, I never loved it, but I was like, well,
Yeah.
I've come
It's
this far.
here. Yeah.
It's and again, like their scarecrow was rad. I really liked him. I
Sure,
liked their
sure.
Mad Hatter. So you take the little bits you can. All right. So speaking of people doing their own thing, someone who did their own thing was Todd Phillips when he made Joker, but it paid off because that movie made a shit ton of money, and now they're busy filming Joker 2 or Joker Folie à Deux. And Lady Gaga will be making her big premiere as Harley Quinn. And after some bad AI photos were making the rounds, fooling people, a month ago? Wasn't even April
Mhm.
1st yet. Um, now we've got our real first look. And they are spy photos, but I don't know. It's not honestly. I wish they'd have just released an official thing
I
instead of letting these
know.
spy photos get out. But like, so be it. It's not. I don't consider it all that spoilery.
Sure.
Um, and they're everywhere. So we got our first official look to the point where when I saw this posted, I thought it was another fake one.
Oh my gosh. Dude, you know what's funny? I was kind of the opposite because, some of the spy pics that were taken were so good that I was like, "Oh, this looks legit. Like this looks official." So, Yeah, I totally get that though, because the fakes have been making the rounds like crazy
Well, because
recently,
the
as you
fakes
said.
looked pretty good too.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
if you don't look at the
No, for
hands, right?
sure, for
Uh,
sure.
and I just thought it was another fake making the rounds, and I also have huge trust issues with the internet.
No one can fault you on that one.
No matter what day it is, I always have trust issues. And so when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, and then and then everyone was running it, and I was like, "Okay, never mind. It's real. This one's real." Um, so we got our first look at her. The pictures are out there. You've probably seen them, but if you haven't seen them, we got Gaga. She is on the steps of, I think, a courthouse or a police
Certainly
station.
looks, yeah.
Courthouse or a police station, hard to tell. Um, but there is some sort of like a rally or a protest going on, and she's walking down the steps, but she is in a black and white diamond checkered shirt with a bright red jacket, and then her hair is slicked back, and she's got kind of the black lines on her face, almost like a Alice Cooper type look, but not quite as
Yeah.
extreme. Um, and then even some fishnets that seem to have the diamond motif going. So this is our first look at Gaga's Harley, and what do you think?
Oh man, I am very excited for this. I mean, ever since the announcement, I've been looking forward to this greatly. I mean, just to preface, I'm a really big fan of Todd Phillips' Joker. I mean, I was actually just kind of referring to Letterbox here as we were chatting. It's a 4 out of 5 for me. I mean, it's an A in my opinion. Now, not shockingly, as I feel like everyone says with this movie, it's not something I revisit often, right?
Mhm.
Just because of the tone, because of the feel, but huge fan of it. And unbelievable to think, Andy, that man, this thing made $1 billion.
I
Like
know, it is crazy. It is so
this
crazy.
thing made $1 billion. And you remember just the palpable buzz, for better or worse, obviously for the better, as we led up to it with, all these, quote unquote threats and all this, it was
Oh,
just a
yeah.
crazy,
Forgot about
crazy
that,
dude.
honestly.
It's so wild to think about that. And so yeah, I mean, ever since a sequel was announced, I've been looking forward to it. And obviously, when Gaga was announced, I love Lady Gaga, and yeah, these pictures, man, I gotta say, I'm super into it. However, and I don't even mean this in a bad way at all. It's kind of totally what you expect. I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like, right?
yes.
Like it's
Nailed
nothing.
it.
It's
Yep.
nothing shocking. It's nothing like you kind of see it and you're like, oh yeah, like
Yep.
that's Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn.
It's got well, yeah, it's you're like, "Oh, if Joaquin Phoenix, if you put the Todd Phillips,
Exactly.
filter on him
Yep.
and you got that Joker, if you use that same filter on Lady Gaga, you get this Harley." It's like totally exactly the same style
Hmm.
of what Phoenix's Joker would be to this Harley. So saying it's exactly what you'd expect is spot on, and I completely agree. But again, that's not a bad thing,
Sure.
because what I like about it is still unmistakably Harley Quinn, and I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I dig it. I think it's cool. Like you said, it's like I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, that is what the Harley would look like in this universe. Um, but I dig it. It does remind me of, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but like, okay, I mean, we were talking about Gotham and Titans and
Yeah.
what an easy lay I am for DC shows. I loved the Birds of Prey show, and what was that, 2003?
Oh yeah.
2003. Um, and Harley was the villain of that show for anyone who hasn't seen it. And at the very like on the season finale, I think it was the very last episode, she doesn't like get suited up, but she kind of wears street clothes that evoke a Harley Quinn look.
Oh my
And it's
gosh.
not that different from this. And so when I saw
Oh
this, I
my
thought, oh, it's
gosh.
like Mia Sarah in Birds of Prey.
I see it, and you are totally not entirely wrong.
I mean, I haven't seen it in a few years, so this is all by memory, but now I'm gonna do it myself. Mia Sarah, Harley Quinn, but like they're just normal clothes, but in the right colors and shapes
Right.
of Harley. And that's what this reminded me of.
That's really funny. I was talking about DC Universe earlier. I remember watching some of that show on the app because I'd never seen it. That's really funny. Yeah, what do you think? Did you look it up?
I did. Yes. Yes. Okay. My memory serves me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not dissimilar. And, but anyway, that is also where my
That's
mind went.
funny.
But yeah, like you, I'm excited about this because of Lady Gaga. Um,
Oh, yeah.
the first movie, I've said it before, it's a good movie, but it's not quite my jam. But I'm certainly intrigued by this one, and a big part of it is because of her. I just think she's amazing.
And there's just so many ways that this movie could go, and we know so little about it, obviously. One thing we do know that I have found interesting from the moment I heard it was that this was going to have musical elements.
Yeah,
And
that's the story.
when you have Lady Gaga involved, why not, right? The woman is amazing. So, I, you know, I don't even know, yeah, I have no idea where this thing can go, but you have my money already, and the worst thing about it is we got to wait till October of next year.
Yeah, yeah, very true. But looking forward
Oh,
to it.
and I have one more thing about
Sure.
this. There was another. I tried not to like dig too much into this. You probably understand. Like I've burned myself over the years of like looking too much into set leaks and things like that. I'm just trying to stay away. But there was one bit of footage I found really fun, and it was not the same scene that you referred to. It was actually in a scene where she was walking up steps, and she was not in what we would consider Harley Quinn wardrobe. She was in
Oh,
more
okay.
normal stuff. And you know what I'm talking about at all?
I don't think I saw that one, honestly.
So she is walking up these steps, and it could be the same building that you were just referring to, but she's walking up the steps, and there is some protesters on the sides of the steps. And there's this kind of middle-aged woman, and I believe she's actually holding a newspaper, and she's kind of chanting, yelling at Lady Gaga as she's walking up the steps. And you can read her lips and kind of hear her. She yells, "You're going to hell," at Lady Gaga. Well, Lady Gaga stops in her tracks, turns around, grabs the woman, kisses her on the lips, and then says, "You're coming with me." And I'm like, yes,
Nice.
yes. So that
There's
was fun.
also there's also, I don't know if you saw it, a newspaper making the rounds. I think
Yes.
it says Crazy in
Yes.
Love, and it's a picture of Joker and Harley. So I'm intrigued.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, Joker Folie do next year. But something that we don't have to wait for much longer, despite bogus April Fool's articles going on around there, is the Flash.
Oh,
The Flash is coming.
believe it, Jamie.
I know, and I'm looking at the pops that I've been buying for the Flash just because I'm so excited. But coming out right now, or I don't know if it's out now yet or if it's about to come out next week, but that is Ben Affleck's new movie Air, and so he's been out there doing interviews and talking and stuff about Air, and of course he's asked about the Flash and he talks about that a little bit. And so the first thing, I'm not going to go into great detail because it is somewhat spoilery, but he gave away a moment that happens in the film with his Batman. Um, and that now there's like some reports afterwards that this scene might have not even made it to the final cut, and we'll just wait and see.
Oh, I hadn't seen that. That's interesting.
Yeah, but like who knows, right?
Yeah.
Like you
It
know,
could just,
like
yeah.
it's just one of those things where I'm like, God, it's one of those times where I get annoyed where I'm like, we know too much about behind the scenes sometimes. It's like
Damn it. I
when
know.
when an actor goes, oh, there was this really cool thing, and then you know some random scooper is like, actually that scene got cut, and now we don't know what to believe, and it's like, ugh, it's just annoying. But um there's a spoiler out there, but it came from Affleck himself. And here's the thing, I'm not convinced it got cut because the spoiler had to do with another cameo, and they're selling a
Right?
pop of that cameo. So uh,
Well,
I think that character will pop up one way or the other because
and I
they're
will
selling toys.
I will also add, without giving any spoilers, if this scene is cut that he described, I would be very upset because that scene sounds
Sounds great.
amazing.
Sounds great. Absolutely. Sounds amazing. And sorry to dance around it, but just in case anybody's out there who's like,
Sure.
I want to know nothing and I managed to avoid it, I want to respect that. If you have seen it, then you know what we're talking about, and it's all good.
Yes.
So it does sound great. I hope it didn't get cut. Because it sounds awesome. But then he also said something, and it's similar to something he said recently where he talked about how happy he was with his performance in The Flash, he kind of said something similar again. He said, it's my best shit that I've done as Batman. I finally figured out how to play the guy. I was like, hold on, I quit. I know I quit, but I got it now. And I appreciated this. And I appreciate that he keeps saying how happy he was with the way the character is portrayed in the film, how he's happy with what he got to do as the character in the film. That all makes me very happy. But this quote sort of got misconstrued a little bit, as which never happens. Of like, oh, he wanted to keep going. And it's like, he literally like
Oh
just
my
listen to what he said.
God. Come on.
But anyway, I thought it was worth mentioning just because I love that. Again, I love that he continues to say he thinks that the best he has done as Batman is in The Flash. And that really makes me excited to see the movie.
Oh my gosh, just a huge boost in confidence in a movie that I I mean, I just cannot wait for this, man. Like you're getting all the toys, all the goodness in, right? And oh, I'm so ready. He seems so confident in what he was able to do, and I'm ready for June to get here, man. I mean, I gotta see this.
I know. Same. I cannot wait. So it's
Yeah.
exciting.
And like and not only you said, as we all know, like in his quote, he said, I quit, I quit being Batman. Not only did he quit, he literally hung up the cape
Yeah.
in the Jimmy Kimmel studio. I mean, this dude was as far away as one could get, and they keep reeling him back in. But yeah, that annoys me that you said his quote was misconstrued. It's like, really? Come on. Come on.
Oh my
I mean, I
God.
can't be surprised.
Have you ever go with me on this? Have you ever heard of something called The Point?
The point.
Harry Nilsson, The Point.
Mm.
First of all, in your spare time, look it up. It was a record that came out, I
Oh.
think, in the 70s. And Harry Nilsson was he's kind of like a folk singer, and he sings all these
Uh-huh.
songs in it. And it's amazing. And I grew up listening to it and I love it. But there's a point because it's a story. It's not just music. It's like music and a
Ah,
story. And
yes,
it's
yes.
sort of like a story, like a kid's story. And it's about, it's about this whole land where everyone has a point on their head except one kid who doesn't. And anyway, he runs into the pointed man. And at a certain point, the pointed man says, here's how it goes, man. And that's how he talks. He kind of talks like a hippie. He's like, people see what they want to see, and people hear what they want to hear. And when this got misconstrued, all I could hear was the pointed man going, people hear what they want to hear.
Oh, that's the truth. That's the truth.
So anyway,
Mhm.
the Flash is coming. Can't wait. And I'm spending too much money on
Oh,
merchandise,
jeez.
but I don't mind. So let's get to the big clay elephant in the room. Let's talk about Clayface, shall
Oh,
we?
that guy.
Yeah, this
Yes.
this came from Deadline a couple days ago, and this was a Deadline exclusive. Filmmaker Mike Flanagan, famous for Doctor Sleep and The Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass, Hush. He's got a new one that I still haven't watched yet. Kind of. See if you agree with me on this. Kind of the current like white hot voice of horror at the moment.
Oh, I definitely agree with that.
Okay. Like totally. He's like the man. Um
Yes.
he allegedly has pitched a feature version of Clayface over at DC. It hasn't been greenlit, but the studio also hasn't said no. There are no deals yet. But allegedly, if it were to move forward, Clayface would not be a bad guy. So rumor is that they had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran and pitched a Clayface feature. But the complication is that there are other sources saying that Clayface will be a part of Matt Reeves's The Batman 2. And so this kind of started making the rounds. And Mike Flanagan, he's not quite James Gunn yet, but he's doing his part. He kind of gave a denial that wasn't a denial. And oh my God, I'm sorry. I wish I would have saved it, but I
I've
did
actually
not.
got it for you.
Oh, good, great. Read it for me.
So Mike Flanagan responded to Deadline's report, and I quote on Twitter, "The news today is purely speculative. When or if something like that ever becomes real, I promise I'll tell you guys." End quote. And Mike Flanagan is a guy that's like super, like you said, he's not quite James Gunn, but he's super connected to the fans, super connected to the community, to the film community, to the horror community. And it's definitely not unlike him to come out and say something like this, which I really, really appreciate.
Mhm.
And other fans obviously do as well. So yeah, that was his kind of direct quote to Deadline's article. And one thing, that I think we need to be very clear on is, this is not like some blogger coming out and with this Clayface story, right? This is not some scoop. Like, this is Deadline coming out
Yeah,
with this. So I
yeah,
mean, that certainly carries some weight to it in and of itself.
exactly. And I don't believe they would have run it, especially for someone like Flanagan, unless something was happening. And that's
Because
when you
yes.
read his quote, I retweeted it with a gif of Alexander Knox going, that's not a denial.
No, because if it was outright wrong, he would say so. You
Yes.
know.
So he didn't say he didn't pitch it. He didn't say that he didn't have a meeting. He just said it's not real yet. And if it were to become real, he would let us know.
Man, such a in Mike Flanagan, we've you kind of hinted at this, but he is a guy that in terms of DC, in terms of Warner Brothers, I mean, give the guy whatever he wants, give him the keys and get the hell out of the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He is such a talent. If he wants to get in bed with you, you raise up the covers. Like
And you
this.
better your trow have already be dropped. I mean, come
Yes.
on.
Yes. Like this is a talent that if he wants to be a part of the DC universe, you let him do it. And to your point, get out of his way because he is so
Yeah.
good. And Clayface is an interesting choice, but also I could totally see it working with his sensibilities. So sign me up, take all my money. I hope it becomes real. But for now, it does feel a little premature, and that's okay and that's fair. But it's an exciting prospect nonetheless.
Man, it really is. It's very exciting, and it's good to see, if nothing comes from this, which I hope it does, it's good to see that he is meeting with the
Mhm.
DC folks, right? There is ongoing conversations. If this doesn't work out, maybe something else will. And I also want to make note of how interesting that article was because it was almost as if that kind of scoop on the Batman 2 was just like a little side note
Yeah,
within it.
yeah, yeah.
And it's like when you're reading about this, Mike Flanagan pitch and all this, and then it's just like all of a sudden, like, oh, by the way, Clayface and the Batman too. That kind of like spins you off in a whole other, direction, right? Kind of wondering what that's all about and what that can consist of. So yeah, that was a really interesting article, kind of all the way around.
Yeah, and the way they even said it is here verbatim. That said, other sources are telling us that scripts are constantly changing and that Clayface is a big addition to Matt Reeves' The Batman 2.
Hmm.
So scripts are constantly changing, but for
Yeah.
now, Clayface is part of the Batman 2. Um, so that being said, how do you feel about the prospect of Clayface and the Batman 2?
Man, I mean, I'm just excited in general for the Batman 2. I feel like it's objectively like a little perplexing, and I don't even mean that in the negative way. It's just, I love Clayface as a character, and there are many different interpretations and ways you can go about that character. And I mean, to state the obvious, Matt Reeves's take is unbelievably grounded, right?
Mhm.
Like, and so to take a more fantastical character like Clayface, I mean, I can't remember what our friend Dakota on Twitter had to say, but he said something like, "If this guy ends up having a skin condition, I'm going to be pissed." And it's like, with Matt Reeves'
Yeah.
grounded
Yeah.
take, who knows? Um, I just wonder what they're gonna do. Clayface is a character that can be really theatrical sometimes. It can
Mhm.
be really dark. I have more questions than anything, but I'll take whatever they give me, to be frank with you.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Clayface is there have been so many versions over the
Yes.
years, starting in 1940. There have been so many Clayfaces, and they have ranged from a guy in a mask to a big, huge morphing pile of clay and
Yep.
everything in between.
Yep.
And so when this came out, a lot of fans are like, "Oh, my he will probably be doing like the original Clayface, and the original Clayface had no powers. He was literally just a disgruntled actor who killed people
Yeah.
in a mask." And
Absolutely.
that's certainly possible. I feel it'll be underwhelming, but it's certainly possible.
I know. That's the
Because at that
thing,
point, why even
man.
make a Clayface, right?
Yes.
So like that's certainly plausible. I could see him doing sort of a middle ground where he's a master of disguise who's a murderer, kind of
Uh,
a evil dark man type thing,
okay. Oh, see, I haven't thought of that. That's a really interesting thought.
where
Yeah.
it's not just a killer who wears a mask, but it's also not just a big living lump of clay. It's sort of
Ex-
this in between thing. I could see that. Um,
right.
I'd love him to go whole hog, but I'm not holding
Oh,
my breath based on the first film.
yeah.
Um,
I would love that too.
and so who knows? It'll be interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, like if you want you want to give yourself a headache, go do some Googling on Clayface when you're bored. And I'm telling you, 100 different versions and a bunch of different alter egos. And over the years, like Basil Carlo, who was the original one, he eventually did become like the Matt Hagen hulking pile of clay, and like they've gone back and forth, and it's so confusing. So good luck with that. But here's the thing: is if he is truly in the Batman 2, great. I'll be intrigued to see how it goes. Um, my hunch is that the the Flanagan meeting was about the connected DC universe.
Sure.
And
Sure.
if that's the case, I would bet the approaches between Mike Flanagan versus Matt Reeves would be so different that I
Oh, yeah.
that I don't think you have to pick. I think you could do both. If we can do it with Batman, we can certainly do it with Clayface.
That's exactly the thing. Like, let's not complicate this. Let's not overthink this.
Yeah.
We fans, no, give fans some credit. We can distinguish. Like, I completely agree.
Well, and again, especially if we're talking guy in a mask versus morphing hunk of clay, nobody's going to get confused. Those are, night and day. So yeah, and we're also getting ahead of ourselves because neither of these things we know. We
Yeah.
have no idea if either of these things will pan out. But if they were to, I think that there's no reason you couldn't do both, for a number of reasons.
And one more super quick note when it comes to the Batman 2. Okay, so Matt Reeves, we are talking about the man who called the Riddler Edward Nashton, right?
Yeah,
Instead of Nigma. So I mean, I don't think that really early interpretation of the character is like, hey, who knows? We could see anything as far as Clayface goes.
for sure, for sure.
Hmm.
Um, And then the other thing I just want to point out real quick before we move on is that more recently in comics, Clayface has become a little more heroic.
Okay.
He has sort of been, oh my God, what's the right word? Rehabilitated. That's the word I was going for.
Mm.
He's sort of been rehabilitated. He was part of kind of the extended Bat family in a recent Detective Comics run. So that could be what Flanagan is going for, where he's like trying to do the right thing and then he still gets himself into trouble and he lets his temper get the best of him and he loses control and all that stuff, but like he's still kind of somewhat heroic. um that's an angle you could go to as well. It's a more recent angle.
It's cool to be the anti-hero these days.
Yeah, so Here's the thing. I like the character of Clayface. He's never been in my top tier, but I like him. And I know a lot of fans have been wanting to see him in live action for quite some time now. Have we ever gotten him in live action?
Man, I was
The
trying.
only possibility I can think of is Gotham.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if he ever showed up in Gotham.
I want to try to find that. I was thinking the same thing earlier, and I mean, I couldn't think of anything.
Yeah. But so for the fans who have been waiting for Clayface, hopefully your day has come in one or possibly two ways.
Wow, it does look like he possibly was in Gotham.
Like I have a vague recollection of that, but I'm like, or my brain is making it up because that happens too.
I am seeing something. I am seeing something here. So, yeah, that
Okay.
seems
All right.
possible.
All right.
Season 2 and 3 maybe looks like kind of a supporting antagonist, if you will.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, more as it develops, but I don't know. I think it's promising and I think it could be very cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's it for news for now. There will always be more. But we got to get to some emails. So let's check in with you, fine feathered finks, and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all Master Wayne.
All right. First question here is from Jack Fiorillo. It says, "Hey, Bat Pals. I think it's appropriate to give my quick review of Shazam. Personally, I thought it had a fun, campy energy that was missing from the first Shazam. Everything else, however, I thought was a step down, unfortunately. It's not a bad movie, but its averageness just makes me more and more excited for DC to finally get to the post-DCEU limbo that they're in. As for my question, it's become inherently clear to me from the box office and interviews and tweets that Shazam is not going to continue. Zachary Levi said recently that he's fully supportive of Shazam returning with a different actor down the line. This begs the question, how do you think the general audience would respond to a whole new Shazam? The only three superheroes I can think of that have had multiple incarnations are Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. And all three of these are pop culture icons that will outlive any interpretation. Shazam, however, was introduced a lot of the world through the DCEU. Do you think it would be hard to get audiences to accept a completely new version on the big screen? How do you think they should handle it? That's it for me. Thanks for the great podcast, Jack." Thanks, Jack. All right, starting with some Shazam. So, what do you think, Preston? You think they could introduce a new Shazam? You think people would go for it? How should they do it? What do you think?
Well asked, Jack. That was a great question, man. So I think that this would absolutely be adaptable in the future because think about what Shazam is, right? At its core, we are talking about a kid getting these superhero powers, to become an adult, version. I think that could be done anytime, anywhere, in any way, really, and be understood and kind of easy to understood. So to be understood, that is. So love what Zachary Levi has done, and we'll probably continue to talk about Shazam as we get through our questions today. It really sucks, and it really hurts that this movie is not doing what you and I, Andy, and I know Brendan and Jamie, wish that it was doing, which probably will lead to us not getting any more in the near future, right? And certainly if we don't get any more with Zachary Levi, I think it's going to be a long time before anybody else picks up that cape. But hey, I'll be ready for it when they do, and I think audiences will as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there are a couple ways they could approach it. I think that, frankly, you could keep Zachary Levi as Shazam and it just lay off some Shazam solo movies. There's no reason he couldn't pop up in other movies or other stories as Shazam. And that
True.
way you could continue the character, but you're not counting on that character to bring in big box office.
Yeah, absolutely. It would bring me a ton of joy to see him pop up in a few movies.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool, and I think you could get away with that. If they were going to recast, I think that Shazam he would not be at the top of the priority list for launching the new DCU, so they would have a chunk of time without him. And then, yeah, 5 years down the line, you introduce a new one. It's not like the Shazam movies were such pop culture touchstones that I think anyone, will be confused or something. I think that,
right.
The first movie was a modest hit, the second movie not. So it's not like, it's not like he's so in the zeitgeist that if it were to be recast 5 years down the line, that anyone would really have an issue with it.
No, completely. And I mean, Jack mentioned, those bigger characters. I mean, it's much, more difficult. Obviously, as we see every recasting of the Batman, there's practically a riot on the internet, right? With Shazam, it would just be another day in the news cycle, I think.
For sure. Exactly. Well, our next question is from our mutual pal, Hunter Fagan.
Ah, Hunter.
Also on Shazam, it says, "Hi, I'm Hunter Fagan. You might remember me from such self-help videos as Smoke Yourself Thin and Get Confident, Stupid. I've also done some podcast work from time to time. I haven't written for a moment. However, the conversation around Shazam has brought me out of my letter writing slumber. So here are my thoughts. Number one, I think you said something important in your spoiler-free reaction where you mentioned that it's understandable, but a little unfair that people are writing it off due to the impending reboot. I think it's unfortunately a byproduct of chasing after any expanded universe. People don't care unless it ties to a larger picture. With writing on the wall for this era of superheroes, the casually interested folks like me are just going to wait for HBO Max. Even Marvel starting to stumble with Ant-Man due to the common perception of it not being essential. Number two, I know that we tussled over this briefly, but I thought the marketing was terrible. The awful trailer set to outdated music was not the way to sell the movie as a must-watch to general audiences. At one of my theater visits in January, someone out loud said, "I can't wait to not see that," and half the theater laughed.
Oh, no.
3, Gunn went on record a few times for The Flash and about how great it is. You probably could have gotten a few people on the fence about Shazam if he had talked positively about it in a significant way. I'm not sure if this is due to him wanting to maintain trust with people and not promote something he doesn't feel passionate about, but I definitely noticed, and I can't imagine being the only one. 4, there's really strong competition this month. Creed 3 made the entire run of Creed 2 in 2 weeks. Scream 6 attracted the horror people, of which there is crossover with superheroes. John Wick 4 is going to be huge and also has attention for action fans. And then Shazam came out 2 months too late. A January release might have helped when there was less competition. Thank you guys for putting out an entertaining show week after week for even a casual DC fan like me that I eagerly await to listen to. Much love, Hunter. Thanks, Hunter. And I do love your self-help videos. Get Confident, Stupid is one of my favorites. That's really good.
Well done, Hunter. That was great.
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand your points, and I think that they are all valid one way or another. So one at a time about people, because of the now shared universe model, this being a byproduct of it, And I think I even said that. I'm like, I don't agree with it, but I also acknowledge the reality of it. And it's a bummer, but here we are. But I do think you're right. A lot of folks who are more casually interested are like, I can wait. I can wait till streaming.
Yeah, absolutely. And forgive me, but in his first point, is that the one that he referenced, like the fact that we knew that we're getting a rebooted DC?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this, Andy, because first of all, I think you and Hunter are exactly right. Obviously, there are fans that know what's coming down the pipeline and think, well, this is ultimately irrelevant, so whatever. But the general audience has no freaking idea about this stuff, about the in-depths. I could ask a family member, they would have no idea we're about to get a DC reboot. So that is the thing that kind of confuses me when I look at Shazam's numbers. And I guess that's when you need to ultimately refer to what Hunter did in its competition. It's insane that Creed 3, equaled the sequel in 2 weeks. It's insane what John Wick has done as an R-rated action movie to this point, right? So I guess that's ultimately the answer, but I just think it's a lot. I think it's the marketing, which Hunter mentioned, and it's not that I think the marketing was terrible. I just say, where the hell was the marketing? I think Warner Brothers had way too much like hope and stock into what the first one did, thinking, we'll skate by, we'll be all right. Clearly, that was not the case. I mean, that was a huge mistake. So there's a lot of different ways you can look at it, and every way makes me really sad that
I know
it's kind of failed.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that I do disagree with Hunter that the trailers were awful. I think that's overly harsh, but just because we don't agree, then that's why we tussled. Doesn't mean he doesn't think that. And if he thought that, other people probably did too. He probably wasn't completely alone in that. But to your point, I also think that the marketing was minimal at best. So, and I do think that even though I liked the trailers, I don't think they did a great job of going, you can't miss this.
Exactly.
And that's the difference. And again, right now in this world, in the current landscape, if people, they are a lot choosier with their movie theater trips. And with Shazam 2, unless you gave them, here's why you need to see this, they're like, oh, like even I think the casual people go, oh, that looks cute. Look forward to HBO Max. Like, so I don't think it's quite as diabolical of, oh my God, the trailers were so bad. But I also think that it did not say, hey, you've got to see this.
Yeah, it did not pull you in and make it an appointment viewing, situation.
Yes. And then Gunn did go on the record saying he liked Shazam. He did. Not as often as I think he did for The Flash.
Yeah.
But I also think, and we've kind of mentioned this, I also think the limited marketing is because if Shazam 2 fails, they're okay. It cost $100 million. If The Flash fails, it could be a disaster. And so I do think Shazam 2 became something of a sacrificial lamb where they're like, we'll do the bare minimum marketing, we'll put it out there, and hopefully we'll be fine. Because it didn't have to break the bank to make a little bit of profit. But the problem is they so undershot that it's not going to make any money. But The Flash, there is too much riding on The Flash. And so they're putting their money and their attention and their focus and the buzz on the one that has to work.
Yeah,
and then finally, the strong competition. Yes, completely agreed. January and February were freaking ghost towns, and then everything came out in March. That was so weird, but you're absolutely right.
That would have been awesome to get that earlier in the year. That's a really, really good point by Hunter. And I also just want to say, like, man, in reference to me just being sad about Shazam, like, David Sandberg doesn't deserve this, damn it.
Absolutely not.
Like, let me just say that this dude is an awesome filmmaker, and I cannot wait to be first in line to get a ticket to whatever that dude does next. And he's been a breath of fresh air, man. I mean, kind of like Flanagan, like he's so connected to the community and is just a fun guy, and it's just an unfortunate situation. It really is.
Yep, absolutely agree. I have another question that goes right in line with this, so I'm going to jump to it. This is from Matt Spalding. It was on the Facebook page. It says, you guys spent some time about social media and reviews dumping on Shazam 2 and how that contributed to the poor box office, which is fair, but we run in some pretty film geek heavy circles, possibly to the point of being an echo chamber. And we saw the dumping on this a lot. However, we also know that superhero movies don't make their money from nerds, they make it from the general audience. So here's what I'm curious about. How much of the review bombing and nerd stuff do you think made it to the general audience and affected them not seeing the movie versus maybe the marketing just didn't interest audiences? Thank you, Matt. And so, this kind of goes in line with the conversation we were already having. So I wanted to jump to it. And I think that kind of what we were just talking about is, everybody is Monday morning quarterbacking it and going, oh, here's the reason, and here's the reason, and here's the reason. And I think that the answer is D, all of the above.
Yeah.
It was like a perfect storm in the wrong way, where it was, I think that the first thing that hurt it is the delays of the movie being released. So then we were 4 years away from the first one, where the general audience wasn't really thinking about Shazam anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think the trailers, which I still thought were good, some people did not think were good, still didn't make it feel like a must-see. I think the marketing was limited. I think that a lot of people know that a reboot is coming, and all of these things coalesced into people going, I'll wait. And then a week before the movie comes out, tracking is low, tracking is soft, and everyone and their mom runs an article about how Shazam 2 is about to bomb. And so a week before the movie comes out, all the headlines are Shazam 2 is a bomb, and it hasn't even come out yet. And like some of the behind the scenes drama and some of that stuff doesn't make it to the general audience. And I think that's totally fair. I certainly think that part of it is that the trailers are like, people were like, cute or not or whatever. But
Sure.
The articles about Shazam 2 is a bomb, that does make its way out into the general audience.
Yeah.
That's on homepages of people's emails. Like that's on the Google homepage. Like whatever news site you go to, it's right there. Shazam 2 set to bomb. Like, and so that news does get out there. And as I've said in a previous episode, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because when people say, that movie bombed, well, then I'm not going.
Dude, you took it right from me. I mean, not only do general audience members see a title, a movie's going to bomb, they read, that movie sucks.
Yes. Yeah.
Therefore, I'm not going to see it.
Yes.
That is exactly what they see. And just like you said, I think all of those factors come together with this. Because I mean, it's a great question, and I wish I knew the answer, because as I just said, the general audience doesn't know that a DC reboot's coming. They could care less or no less about that.
I would say some do. Again, not my mom. But
sure.
Like it's not like there are two buckets, hardcore film geeks and the general audience.
Sure.
There's a middle ground there of people who are casually interested. And those are the people who do go to every MCU movie, but are still not hardcore people like us who follow this stuff and are on Twitter and talking about it on listening podcasts. There are people, and those people do know that a new Superman movie is coming out without Henry Cavill, being directed by James Gunn. They know that. Yeah. Like they don't know the details. They may not remember the details, but there is also a chunk of of this middle ground between like completely clueless general audience and big time nerds of those people going, DC's rebooting. And maybe that's all they know. But they know that, and it's just enough,
This is a little bit separate of a topic, but just looking at we're saying general audience here, looking at a general audience kind of reception to Shazam Fury of the Gods, I did kind of look into the cinema score a little bit, because as we know, the cinema score can be a really telling kind of feature to see the legs of a movie, right? To see the reception of a movie. It got a B+ cinema score, which I think it's really important to look at other DC movies that kind of lines up with. And that was Suicide Squad from 2016, which obviously did big money. I mean, hate or love the movie, it made money. And Wonder Woman 1984. All those have the B+ cinema score in common. So, not that that's a telling factor.
And I want to say Shazam 1 had an A or an A-?
One or the other. One or the other. And I bet I can find that really quickly. But yeah, it had to be one or the other. Let's see here.
Cinema score. Who can find it first?
I know, right? Oof. Might be you.
It had an A.
Solid A. I believe it, man.
Yeah. So you're right. That also does factor into it. And cinema score isn't a perfect barometer, but it's kind of the best we have to really get a gauge or a pulse check on what the general audience thought.
Mm-hmm.
So a B+ tends to be fine.
Yeah, it's B.
If you're not familiar, B, it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
which I know sounds bizarre, but that's how cinema score works. Is like
exactly
is like B or below is pretty bad. B+ is fine, and then A- and A, obviously A+. Those all if you're in the A range, you're pretty good.
Like the movies playing right now, like John Wick Chapter 4 is an A, Creed 3 A-. So that gives you a little perspective.
Quantumania B.
I was about to say Quantumania is a straight B. So yeah.
All right, well, Scream 6 B+, same as Shazam 2. Who knew?
It's doing well.
Interesting. So anyway, did we answer the question? Kind of. Sort
Yeah,
of.
I know. I wish I had a legit answer, but I just think it's all
Again,
those things together.
it's all of the above, you
Yeah.
know. Um, I do think, and you hit on this, and again, I think this is where the 4 year gap comes in. Is I also did think that they made the assumption that the goodwill from the first movie was
Yeah.
going to do a lot of the work, and I think had this movie came out a year or a year and a half ago, that probably would have been true.
Mm-hmm. That's a
But
good point.
4 years is a pretty rough gap between movies. Unless it's like a built-in audience, you know.
Of course.
All right, next message here is from Mark Bickford. It says, "Hey guys, first, I know I already sent an appreciation for Catherine being on the Valentine's episode, but I was one of the people who had been harping on it. I wanted to say I was glad that she had a similar experience to mine at the Batman restaurant in London. I hope you have another opportunity to go over and experience the Monarch Theater. Maybe get a hold of some of your UK correspondents like Tom Fallows and Stuart from Guernsey and make an event of it. Incidentally, you mentioned Park Row, the name, and I know that you're not always fully briefed on Deep Cut Comics references, but it actually goes back to the Denny O'Neil story that introduced Leslie Tompkins, where it was established that the once fashionable Park Row was the street that became Crime Alley after the Waynes were murdered there. In fact, the actual street name remained Park Row, since not even Gotham was going to name it Crime Alley. Thank you, Mark. I knew that like they went back to the Park Row name in a comic, and I think I mentioned on that episode, but I had no idea that was the original name. So the more you know. Thank you.
Mark bringing in the fun facts.
Yeah. He said also a little while ago, there was an email about DC and theme parks. And I want to preface this by saying that it's all hypothetical. So no one would give me money to build a theme park. But be that as it may, here's what I would do. Start with the Amazing World of Superman park that was intended to be built in Metropolis, Illinois. For Gotham, I would just hire you and Michael Uslan and let you figure it out. I like that plan. For Themyscira, I don't think most places I would want to build this would want an entire land with no men allowed. So maybe I would just go all in with the theme in the ladies' rooms and then add a kiddie land based around Looney Tunes or the Hanna-Barbera characters. And then finally for Aquaman, have you ever been to the Terrors of the Deep exhibit at SeaWorld, where you go under a big wraparound aquarium filled with sharks and barracuda? Well, I think the Atlantis area could be completely inside, and you go via people mover through an aquarium, then through a cave mouth gimmick or something on the other side. And when you're inside, everything looks like you're underwater. But then there could be dark rides and shopping inside. So what do you think? Shazam, I loved it. It was fun and exciting, and there was a lot more Mary Marvel. I was there with my niece, and I was brokenhearted that we were literally the only two in the theater at 10 p.m. on a Saturday.
Ouch.
Really, I think the Flash trailer just sucked all the air out of the room. I hope you took note of what the David Sandberg tweet I tagged you on that mourned all the social media harassment that Leslie Grace got, because he's a good dude. Question, do you think that DC is a victim of its past successes? Marvel was in many ways a blank slate when Iron Man came out. DC, on the other hand, had 7 theatrical Batman movies, plus the 66 film. Superman had 5, and there were TV shows ranging from The Adventures of Superman to Smallville, and cartoons from Super Friends to the Timverse, plus video games. DC already had a firm place in the minds of many of their fans, but they were all slightly different. So trying to pick any characterization of the universe, let alone a deconstructive reimagining, was bound to aggravate some folks. What do you think? Have a great week, Mark. Oh, Mark. Okay, there's a lot to bite off here.
Man.
It's a lot.
Good stuff.
So appreciate the Park Row thing. So your DC theme park, yeah, I'm in.
Dude,
I'm down.
I'm already taking out a loan for whatever I can contribute. I want to be there. Yes.
I mean, it's not all that different than what I kind of said, broad strokes of like kind of a Metropolis, a Gotham, a Themyscira, an Atlantis. So I think you're going the right way. Having all of Atlantis indoors so you can have the illusion of underwater. I'm into that. I think that's fun. And then finally, do you think DC is a victim of its own past successes?
Man, That's interesting. Would you like my comment?
I do. I want your comment. You go first.
Why, thank you. I do not think that is what the case is. I do
Huh.
not. I think that maybe, first of all, this goes back to our last question. I think it's a lot of things. I think maybe the first thing that comes to my head is when you're a little different than when you're acting a little different than how the cool kid in town acts, maybe you're going to get a little more hate and judgment your way. And maybe that's what we're kind of seeing. I mean, he mentioned Marvel and kind of what those guys are doing over there, and DC's try to do some different things, right? And obviously, we've seen different reactions to that.
Mhm.
I would say that that's a part of it, right? It's certainly not all of it, but it's a part of it. There's just so many factors that go into this stuff,
Yeah, I know. Well, I will say this, like, as far as Superman goes, yes. Because when Man of Steel came out, there was so much buzz and there was so much excitement and people couldn't wait for that movie. And I mean, like, and the opening weekend showed that. But anything that movie did that was different from especially the Christopher
Okay.
Reeve version
I see what you're saying. Right.
threw people off of being like, well, that's,
Okay.
and again, we talked about this recently. It's like, well, that's not how Jonathan Kent dies. What the heck is this? That's not how he dies. It's like, well, that's how he dies in this story, in this version. No, he's supposed to have a heart attack. Like things like that. And then, so yes, I do think that there is a case to be made, especially when it comes to Superman, of a large chunk of the audience coming in going, this is what Superman needs to be. And a lot of that was shaped by the Christopher Reeve version, which I love, by the way. But I think that certainly worked against the DCEU.
Well, yeah, that's very fair.
And then I think you also had some of that with Affleck's Batman in BVS. To a certain extent. To a certain extent.
No, that's
because the irony is BVS, if we take ourselves back to 2016, people didn't, we're not happy with the way Superman was portrayed in that movie. They liked Affleck as Batman, but didn't necessarily like how he was portrayed.
Sure.
But they did like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. And the only thing they were going off of was like Linda Carter in the 70s, who we also love, but like that doesn't have the same notoriety of Batman or Superman. So I think, yeah, like it's almost a subconscious thing, I think, where like people we're coming in with, I think, less expectations of, well, here's what Wonder Woman should be, as opposed to what Superman should be. And so I think that all does play into it. Absolutely.
No, I clearly did not think enough about that when answering, because you're exactly right. And Andy, to your response, I guess I just ask, what are you to do? Like what?
Yeah.
Like how do you overcome that?
It is a tricky needle to thread, my friend.
It really
is. And many folks have pointed out in the past where Superman Returns, a lot of people didn't like it because it just felt like a copy and paste of Christopher Reeve's Superman.
Yeah.
And it didn't do enough of its own thing.
Yeah.
And Man of Steel did too much of its own thing. and so it's a tricky balance to hit. Doesn't mean it's impossible, because honestly, like, I feel like Superman and Lois, people tend to like that. Like, that feels like a nice balance between the two. So
it's very good.
It can be done, Superman, the animated series, even though it's animated, like, it can be done to do a modern Superman that is still close enough to the classic. There's a way to do it. I just think that with the DCEU, some of those things got pushed. And again, some fans had no problem with that and liked it and loved it, and that was their thing. And I loved it. But again, kind kind of like Titans. Like for the people who don't love it, I also get it. You know, I can't really blame you. I get why it didn't work for everyone. So
I think we should go on the internet and spend the rest of our night defending Man of Steel on Twitter. That's
here,
what we should do.
let me go do that.
All right. It's going to be great.
So, but yes, I mean, I guess, yeah, to answer your question, like, I don't want to say Marvel had it easier because they didn't, because they had to make people fall in love with Iron Man from a blank slate, you know, and that's not easy either.
You know, what's going to be really interesting is, 20, 30 years from now, when they start redoing those characters, it's going to be interesting to see those people fighting instead of us, damn it,
Yeah,
for once.
that's what Jamie always says. Jamie, what does he say? He says, God bless whoever has to get cast as the next Tony Stark or whatever. Anyway, so let's move forward. Next one is Stuart from Guernsey. It says, with the high shuffle in leadership and show film producers and writers, I've not heard anyone talk about the future of Jeff Johns. He had his hands, I think it's a typo. He had his fingers in so many pies with movies and TV, but now all of them seem to be coming to a close, minus Superman and Lois. He's always worked on DC, but it doesn't seem he'll be part of anything going forward. What do you think the future is for him? Anyway, hope you're doing well, Stuart. Thank you, Stuart. It's a great question, because you're right. Stargirl just ended, and that was sort of his pet project. And for what it's worth, I thought all 3 seasons were great of Stargirl. Really great. Such a good show. But you're right. There's really been no talk. My hunch, he's going to kind of stay in the comic world, maybe help out with some TV here and there. But because of all of the Justice League, I think he's just keeping his head down.
Yeah, I'm overstating this a little bit, but I feel like Jeff Johns, excuse me. I feel like his name has been just as quiet as that Superman animated series we were talking about earlier. Like, that's a really good question and just a really good point of like, man, that's been really quiet, because you're right there for a minute. Like, I mean, he was DC's like golden boy in the, in the film division and the comic division. I mean, he seemed to be really heading things up. And you're right, after the Justice League debacle, that obviously changed. And yeah, I mean, I have no idea what obviously his contract situation is. Do you ever think that could, be a divorce, that he could go somewhere else? Or
I mean, he always could, but like, it felt like, like when he was only the head of DC Films for like a year. Like it was, like it was so quick. It was, but it happened during freaking Justice League. It was just a disaster. So, the consolation prize is like, oh, he's got a producing contract with the studio, and he did Stargirl, which again, I thought was really good. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, he could go anywhere, but I think he will fall back on what he has done for most of his career, which is comic books. And again, maybe once this new plan, moves forward, and maybe, I have no idea if he has a relationship with James Gunn. I don't know if they like each other. I no idea, but it's certainly possible that Gunn could then fold him back in to help with some stuff if he wants.
Yeah. Been quiet recently. That's for sure.
Yep. Next question is from Tom Fallows. It says, hey, I thought I'd write in. It's been a minute. Imagine a Batman movie like No Way Home with all the past Batmen joining forces to stop a big bad. So Adam West, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, and Robert Pattinson all joining forces and are split up into teams. So which Batmen would you team up? This could be for comedic value or just you'd like to see on screen together.
Oh my goodness.
Enjoy, Tom. Thanks, Tom. I remember once upon a time, and I don't even remember if it was on this show or one of the other Batman shows I used to do, but I remember someone wrote in with a pitch for a movie called Batmen. And it was essentially all the living Batmen were at Comic-Con, like doing a panel, and it like got invaded by a villain and they all had to team up together and take it down. And I was like, dude, I would spend so much money on that. That would be amazing.
That is great.
And so this sounds like kind of an in-universe version of that. The problem is Adam West is no longer an option, which is sad. And Val Kilmer is barely an option, which is sad. But let's just say they're all they're all with us and they're all healthy and they could all do it. What do you think? How would you team them up?
Oh my gosh, that is such a funny question. Okay, I'm like like writing all the names down right now so I can kind of put these together. First of all, the first thing I think about is I want Adam West with the darkest versions of Batman that we
Yes.
have.
Yes, I
I
agree.
need the levity of Adam West to like bring the others down a little bit. So I'm going to need Adam West probably with, you think, Bale and Pattinson?
I was gonna go with Affleck.
With Affleck, yeah, that makes sense
I mean, but
too.
it's your choice. It's whatever. But I was thinking the same thing you were, which is like, let's put opposites together because it could be more fun. So Affleck is like the biggest and the meanest Batman. So I feel like him and
Yeah,
Adam
true.
West would be a fun matchup. And then like Clooney and Keaton could be a hell of a lot of fun.
Oh my God,
That you could
yes.
still do. Which leaves Kilmer, Bale, and Pattinson as a throuple.
I want this so bad. Oh my God, that would be so funny. Man, yeah. Looking at this list, that's interesting. I just want to see Adam West with let's see here. Oh my God, with Ben Affleck in that warehouse scene. Can you imagine?
Yes. Yes.
Can you imagine? That's great.
Yeah, that dude, he gets blown up by the grenade. There's just a big blam that comes up on the screen.
No, Adam West takes the grenade and's like running out of the room with it held above his
Oh,
head,
that's the scene. Good.
There we go.
Yeah, I would love it. Maybe we can still do a comic book version.
That's great.
All right, next message is from our pal Eric Carter. It says, hey old chums, I wanted to send in an email because it's been too long. I enjoyed your spoiler-free review with Catherine for Shazam. I wanted to give a tiny bit of perspective on the heart or lack thereof. Both the original and Fury of the Gods are pretty beloved in our household. After seeing both, the kids in our house have commented about how represented they feel by having superheroes on screen that know the struggles of the foster system, as well as being in a multiracial family. When leaving this one, we were talking about Billy and his fear of aging out. Our oldest said, I'm so glad that we're adopted and not just fostered anymore, because I'd be terrified of that. All the kids talked about how scary and tough it is to become part of a new family. Then once you are, there's always the fear that you'll lose them like you did with your biological family. This is what they see in Billy, and that's where I find the heart of the film. I definitely agree they could have expanded on it more, but I absolutely love seeing that through the eyes of our kids. Anyway, no question, just wanted to give another view. I'm happy you guys like the film, and I can't wait for that gorgeous steelbook so we can watch it whenever we want. Keep on being the best, and keep that bat signal light and the bat signal lit and pointed skyward. Your bat brother, Eric Carter. Thanks, Eric. No, absolutely. I think you're right, and I think that's a great perspective, and thank you for sharing that. And and you said it, and I think we said it too in our review. It's not that any of the emotional arcs were bad. They just needed a little more development. And I think this is another great example of this is a great arc, and I appreciate that they put it there, and I love to hear it resonated with your family. I just wish we'd have gotten a little deeper into it.
Yeah, man, that's ridiculously sweet, Eric, and I love what he's doing over with the Fire Rises, and I love that collaboration that you guys had recently. That was awesome. I completely agree, though, man. It sounds like we're on the same page as far as Shazam goes, and like you guys, I got to get on that Steelbook pre-order because I need that for sure.
It's real pretty.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yep, good, do it. Next message is from Dustin. It says, hey, super friends. First off, I've been watching the Batman animated series for the first time since you guys are reviewing it. I've been liking it more than I expected, and I just got through the Clue Master episode. And did he remind anyone else of Oogie Boogie? Dustin, you are not the first one to say that, so I think you're right. He is very Oogie Boogie. It says, I've been wondering if you could have any superhero movie that isn't from a major comic book company, what would it be? To clarify, I mean things like The Tick, Invincible, Hellboy, or Spawn if they didn't already have movies. Dustin. Thanks, Dustin, and appreciate the message. And so a comic book movie on something that's like not from one of the majors or who hasn't had a movie.
Oh man, Andy, I might need you to go first on
It's
this one.
it's a tricky one.
That's I'm just trying to think. What am I not thinking of here? Because hmm.
I know I have to like think of like, okay, not DC, not Marvel. So that makes it
Ah,
real tricky. And then you're right, the ones like Hellboy or Spawn, we've already gotten movies. The only one I can think of, and it's just because like I liked him back in the Image days. I don't even know if I would still like him because I haven't read it since then, but I like the Savage Dragon. I thought the Savage Dragon was cool as hell.
oh my God,
So why the hell not? Give me Savage Dragon.
that's fair. Ah,
Do you remember
shit.
him or are you too young?
Oh no, yeah, I know what you're talking
No.
about.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
Um,
yes, absolutely. What about this? This might be cheating because there is something on this character, but what about Invincible?
yeah, I mean, I love the show on Prime. I think the show is great. So heck yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, maybe Invincible. Maybe that's what I would pick.
That
It's a
works for
tough
me.
That's an interesting question though.
It
Yeah.
it is, and I mean, and it just outs me as not reading a lot of non DC stuff.
Yeah, dude, I'm actually yeah, I totally know Savage Dragon. I just looked it up and yeah, he looks awesome.
he
Give
was
me
he
that
was
guy.
yeah, like in the image verse back when that was a thing. Like obviously
Yes.
Spawn was the biggie, and I like Spawn too, but Savage Dragon was kind of my number two.
That's fun, man.
All right, the next one is from Mark Bickford again. I think these have been piling up. It says, "Hey guys, I suppose one could say I'm watching Gotham Knights so you don't have to. After 3 episodes, I've got some thoughts and I'd love your reactions. Number one, I'm sure the new CW took this show on with all the enthusiasm that one normally brings to being asked for a loan by their brother-in-law. Okay, great. I didn't even know we were 3 episodes deep. I watched the first one and I'm kind of good.
Oof.
Number two, after Gotham, Titans, Batwoman, Pennyworth, Birds of Prey, and probably the upcoming Penguin, now this show, it's time to accept that a Batman show without Batman is its own subgenre. Valid. You are correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. It's funny that you sent this because we talked about it earlier. It's like, I guess I'm just a sucker for this stuff. And I feel like if there were less things out to watch, I'd probably be watching Gotham Knights just for that reason.
Yeah, oh
But
yeah.
there's a lot to watch right now. So, number three, Bruce Wayne is murdered. Someone sticks a plastic mask on him, similar to one of my work friends puts in my cube for my last birthday, and everyone just accepts that he was Batman. Yeah, they do. They do. Number four, Duella's character's all over the place and not in a good fake Harley way. In episode 2, she was all gloomy because the court was trying to kill them. Episode 3, she's similar to the pilot, but without the full-on wild abandon. Maybe Simmons didn't quite read the character the same way. All right. I'd have to watch the other 2 episodes, but
Yeah.
I'll trust you. The brother and sister are both LGBTQ. I understand representation, but the way they threw that in there seems really haphazard and tokeny to me. I understand what you're saying, but I believe that the Rowe siblings are both LGBTQ in the comics too. So I think that's
okay.
accurate, if my memory serves.
Good.
I think. With the teasing of Harvey becoming Two-Face, you just know that we're not going to see it until the very final shot of the finale, to probably never get followed up on. No, I think I think we are going to see it because Misha Collins like tweeted out a picture of him like in makeup. So we'll see it one way or the other, but you're right. Will we ever get it? Like, will we not get it till the very end? Kind of what you were saying about Tim Drake Robin is possible.
Right.
And then finally, they're going to introduce Steph's parents, and there's one clip in a promo where she asks about becoming a vigilante. I will forgive a ton of nonsense if they actually give us spoiler. Have a great week, Mark. Thank you, Mark. I mean, if the show goes long enough, I would fully expect that Steph would become a spoiler. I think. But I mean, they got to get some of they got to start turning some of these kids into heroes anyway, right? So
yeah.
I think it probably would happen. I just don't know but apparently the show is doing well on streaming, is my understanding.
Really?
Yeah, that's the story. So someone's watching it.
So here's the thing. That is not me. I have not watched a damn second of the show. And yeah, I don't have time for it. You know what I mean? If I get to it, that's going to be great. I probably won't, and that'll be fine too. I just had a great time listening to you and Brendan talk about the premiere. That was fun. But
Well,
hey,
good. I'm glad.
if you're watching it and you're enjoying it, eat it up. And I hope that they continue making it. Yeah, if I'm bad with TV, I'm never gonna get to this thing. I can promise you that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, and yes, we were not kind to the pilot, and I don't like just crapping on something. But
Yeah,
I've
no.
not gone back to episode 2 or 3. I'll tell you that. But I will say, like, now that it's out there, like, and now that they're a few episodes in, the end of season 1, there is a Talon from Court of Owls, and he looked cool, and so that's something.
I will say I did think it was really cool. Right before the premiere came, I read a really nice article about the creator. She seemed like a lovely lady, and it was a deeply personal project for her. She had experienced some personal tragedy in her life that kind of led her to developing this and writing this. So, at least there's that. It comes from the heart, that's for sure. So, truly hope there's folks out there enjoying it.
Yeah, and again, and like you said, for anybody out there's loving it, like, don't let me take that away from you. I'm not trying
No
to.
way.
I have not gone back to it because on my priority list of viewings, it's not very high up. But if you're digging it, awesome. I love that.
Sure.
All right, next message is from Sonia. It says, "Dear Holy BatCast, my questions are this: Have you guys been watching The Flash season 9? It's their last season. And also, I know that you guys love horror movies, so have you seen Smile? It's on Prime. Thank you, sincerely, Sonia." Thank you, Sonia. So I have not been watching Flash season 9. I think this might have been off mic, but I fell off of Flash a few years ago. The
Yeah.
first couple seasons, I was all in on it, and then I lost track at a certain point, and I've just not gone back. So I'm kind of intrigued because it's their final season, but no, I've not gone back to it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andy. However, I think I fell off probably like a couple seasons before you. I really enjoyed those first, couple few. That was actually one that I really stuck with there for a while. But yeah, I couldn't tell you much about what's going on these days. Although I hope that it has a great ending for, those that are still into it.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say, and it has been said, season 1 of The Flash is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's an amazing season of superhero TV. For me, part of the reason I started losing interest is like every season was like, oh, we're just going to have one big bad and we're going to stretch it out over 23 episodes. And it just felt like a lot of, forgive the pun, running in place. Whereas the first season, they still had an overarching story for the first season, but like you had like the weather wizard pop in and out, and you had like different
Right.
characters pop in and out so that you could still enjoy the episodes on their own while there was no overarching story. And then I think they got a little too serialized for their own good.
Yeah.
And then the movie Smile. I've seen it. Have you?
I have, yes, of course I have. And with the money Smile made, you better get used to smiling. Let me tell you that much. Whether you like it or not, budget is 17 million worldwide, $217 million. Unbelievable.
It was kind of a like out of nowhere sleeper hit, wasn't it?
It really was. And the really cool thing about it, and I know you like keeping up with this stuff, is just the weekly numbers that it did. Hey, it opened nice. Well done, Smile. Oh my gosh, second weekend. Look at that. Oh wow, the third weekend. It's hanging in there, right? So in a year where we had, Halloween Ends and some other big horror movies coming out around that time, Smile was certainly head and shoulders above its competition in terms of box office. That's safe to say. I really enjoyed Smile. I thought it was a good time. I've only seen it theatrically, so I've only seen it one single viewing. One thing I really appreciated about Smile, and I won't get into any spoilers here, is I feel like they really went there from a creature design aspect to a couple other things, I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. Now, I think it's very safe to say that Smile borrowed from a lot of movies that we like quite a bit. I think that's very safe to say, but it was enjoyable. And I love that. I mean, Kevin Bacon's daughter, how cool is that? She does great in that.
Oh, I didn't realize that was her.
Yeah, she leads. That's Sosie Bacon. Yeah.
Oh, wow, cool. Yeah, I think we probably see eye to eye. I liked it. I thought it was solid. I didn't love it. There were some really good scares that I enjoyed, and you're right. There's some scenes that are pretty gnarly in a good way. I just felt like it was too long. Like I feel like there was not enough story to fill the time, so
I could see that.
It just felt very stretched out. But yeah, I had a good time with it. It's streaming now, so I think I watched it on Paramount Plus, maybe. But
that sounds right.
Yeah, it was solid. All right, next message is from Kevin. It says, "Hey there, I've been a listener for 5 years, and it's my first time writing in. I hope you're doing well, and for God's sake, I hope you three can finally meet in person." Oh, this is interesting. If you had to choose between two styles of superhero films, what would it be? Fun and lighthearted or dark and gritty? Also, are you genuinely excited for the Reevesverse? The Arkham Asylum show is set to solely focus on one patient per episode, focusing on their physiological conditions. This would be an incredible character exploration, and my guess is it would lead directly towards the third and final film, with the last episode being the Joker's escape. Of course, with help from the Riddler, so we may indeed see a Riddler with a more aesthetically pleasing look. Lastly, I'm so excited for James Gunn's DCU. It's time for us to have an actual plan with leaders who make hard decisions but stay on course. It's a great time for DC. That's all for me. You guys are awesome. Kevin. Thanks, Kevin. So let's take these questions for one by one. Oh, this is tricky. You style, fun and lighthearted or dark and gritty?
To play devil's advocate to you, I'm going to say dark and gritty, Andy. Not that I know exactly what you're going to say, but I think I do. And that's kind of not basing it off anything we've gotten before. I'm just kind of, yeah, it's no secret that I loved Matt Reeves, the Batman. I think you could consider that dark and gritty. If that's not, I don't know what is. Give me dark and gritty, but better yet, give me both. Give me both.
Yeah, I mean, the correct answer is a balance of both.
That's right.
But I don't think that's what he's asking. If I have to make the tough call, I'm gonna go with fun over dark. Which is funny because 20 years ago I probably would have done the opposite. But I'm like, I've got enough dark and gritty in other aspects of life. Sometimes I just want to have fun.
Come on, we live in 2023. That's enough dark and grim in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, ideally there's a nice balance, but if I have to choose one or the other, I'm gonna go with fun. And genuinely excited for the Reevesverse. I mean, not really for me. You guys,
sure.
I didn't love the movie, and hopefully as things start happening with the sequel and we see things and their reveals and everything, I'll get a little more excited. But the movie didn't really work for me the way it worked for a lot of people, so I'm very wait and see on that. But it's nice that, to your point, Preston, like they will have options for both. And so,
yes.
People have choices, which is great.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm pumped for what's to come on all aspects. Give me the Matt Reeves verse. Give me the gun stuff. I'm just the hard thing is I'm just going to have a hard time being patient. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I need it now.
All right, next message is from Tom Fallows. It says, "Hey guys, I was rereading The Three Jokers and I was wondering what would be your casting for the clown, the comedian, and the criminals. I know you guys hate these lack of prep time questions, but it's all in good fun." You're right. Casting always takes time to think about. So this is mean.
What was the first part of the question again? I'm sorry.
He was rereading The Three Jokers. Have you read Three Jokers?
Oh, okay. No, I haven't.
Okay, so there are three Jokers.
Okay.
One is the clown, one is the comedian, and one is the criminal.
Okay.
And I haven't read it recently. I read it when it came out and I liked it. But they all had very different personalities.
Sure,
And so
I
he's
am
asking
familiar
like,
with it.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's asking like, how would you cast the three Jokers?
I see.
Any thoughts?
Oh, for crying out loud, man. I hate to be a oh oh my goodness. I really
The
want to
good news
answer
is,
your
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Do you have an
well,
idea?
I was just gonna say I really want to answer the question, but I don't have anyone in
It's
mind right
hard.
now.
It's hard. It's okay. The good news is I saw this earlier today.
Oh, look at you.
And so I did think about it.
Well, let's chat about yours then.
And they're not the best answers, but they're the answers we have today.
Okay.
The clown, who, if I recall, is the silliest and the campiest.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, look
Just
at
because
you.
I love me some Ryan Reynolds. Green Lantern didn't get to work out, but he is thin and has a long face and he's funny as hell. He could be the clown Joker.
Okay. I can get down with that.
The comedian, and this is just because it's like fresh in my memory. I watched The Knock on the Cabin yesterday or
Oh
2 days
gosh,
ago.
yeah.
Watch that. Jonathan Groff. I love him. I think he's awesome. And I think he could be great as a Joker.
Now he was the fella in Hamilton, right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, that dude is awesome.
He's amazing. He was great in The Knock at the Cabin. I think he has
Yes, he
range
was.
because, yes, he's hilarious in Hamilton and he is very dramatic in
Mhm.
Knock at the Cabin. He's a talent and no comic book people have snapped him up yet. Let him be the comedian.
Totally agree.
And then the criminal, going with one of my old favorites, one of those guys. I don't want to say he's divisive for audiences, but he's divisive for people who've worked with him. But man, he's always good. Edward Norton.
Man, Edward Norton's great, and
He's
he is
always so
not.
good.
He is not in enough stuff. I remember watching the latest Knives Out, just thinking, man, why has it been so long since I've seen this guy?
It seems like there's always drama with him. And who knows, whatever, but I'll be damned if he's not just an incredibly talented guy. And you're right, like even in Knives Out, he was awesome. Not Knives Out, Glass Onion, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah,
He's awesome, but no matter what he does, he's awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
And could you imagine him as Joker? And especially
Yeah,
the criminal,
man.
I think if I recall, he was the most serious and like murderous Joker. Like imagine Edward Norton.
First of all, I think yes, give me that any day of the week. I am so down. You know who I don't know if folks would be down with me on this one, but I think he could do it. I really do. Just kind of thinking about that in the description you're giving me. How about like a Ryan Gosling?
Oh, hell yeah.
I think that would,
Absolutely. Totally.
yeah.
He was who they wanted for Suicide Squad in 2016.
Oh, that's right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, now that
He's
you
who they
say
went.
that,
Yeah,
yes.
he's who they went after. But no, he would be great too. Great choice.
I just think of him in like roles like Place Beyond the Pines and movies like that. I think that would be awesome.
And Barbie shows that he's not afraid to have fun, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, I cannot wait to see more on that, by the way.
Yeah. So, but man, this is tricky, not because like casting is tricky enough and it's hard enough to come up with one answer, but you're asking for 3 Jokers? Well, there you go. We gave you 4. I hope
I like that. I like that.
It'll have to do. All right, next message is from Aaron. It says, "Good day, my brother's from other mothers or a sister from another mister, if Catherine is there. After watching Shazam 2, it got me thinking, why would Gunn and Company continue with the post-credit scenes, especially the Justice Society one, since The Flash is going to reset everything? I mean, Gunn said Shazam was its own sandbox, but with Harcourt and Wonder Woman showing up, it now connects to the greater DCU. Secondly, working in the cinema industry, I don't think that comic book movies are fading out. I just feel audiences are becoming wiser when it comes to spending their money post-pandemic. So studios now have to really work to get that box office money. The first Shazam wasn't a big hit, and now throw in a sequel in the current environment, and it was always DOA in my opinion. Anyway, it's been fun. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the interwebs. Aaron. Thanks, Aaron. I'll do the last question first, just because the first Shazam wasn't a big hit is not entirely true. It wasn't a big hit, but it was a modest hit.
Oh, yeah.
And it was profitable. And as we were saying, it was well liked. It was well reviewed. It got an A cinema score, and it made a nice profit, especially in relation to the budget. So a sequel was a no-brainer pre-pandemic, to your point. Mm-hmm. Because if the sequel came out, the sequel was budgeted the same as the first. It's not like they overspent on it. If it had come out in a more reasonable time frame, carrying over the goodwill from the first, and it made as much as the first, they would have made a nice little tidy profit again. So I get why it happened. It's not like the first movie was a disappointment. It did well, and it was well liked. But man, a lot changed in 4 years, like we talked about earlier. And I think therein is the rub.
Yeah, just that, like we said, holding stock in, the first one was well received, and it just didn't work out. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a shame. The post-credit scene thing is an interesting question.
Yeah.
Preston, why don't you go first?
Well, initially, and I know it's a little different, we'll get into this, but, my first response is like, well, why did Zack Snyder's Justice League have a post-credit sequence like the way it did? You know what I mean? It's like...
That one still hurts too.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. So, you can kind of point at a couple things and bring that up. Now, one thing that he did make note of that I do find really interesting is that it brought in the Peacemaker characters. Now, that is kind of an interesting note because it does it connects it to what James Gunn and those folks are doing. So, I guess it's just one of those things where, look, if the movie does well, there's a thread there and we're good. We can pick it up however we want. If it does bad, you know what? No harm done. We can leave it as is, and it's not that big of a deal. How do you feel about it?
I think that's exactly it.
Okay.
Sandberg even said the movie was locked before James Gunn took the gig. So those post-credit scenes were already what they were when that changed. And James Gunn said, again, when he talks about Shazam, he said there was no reason Shazam couldn't continue as planned because it was kind of its own little corner of the DCU. And so if the movie was a big hit, now they had things to pick up on. If it wasn't a big hit, oh well.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. So it was sort of it was kind of low risk, which it does make it annoying for us fans who saw those scenes and were like, man, I really would have liked to see those get paid off, which is kind of where I'm at. But they also I don't know, it's kind of there's no harm in keeping them in because if the movie is a hit, then we can keep going.
Yeah, I think low risk is definitely the best way to put it.
So, yeah, I think that's all it is. All right, next message is from David. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast, just a short message about the Mr. Freeze review episode for The Batman. I liked the episode a lot, even if it's a downgrade. Even if it's a downgrade to do Mr. Freeze is obsessed with diamonds in a post-Heart of Ice world. I'm about to give my age away, but my family didn't have internet until 2003, and I was the right age to play those cheaply programmed Flash animation games on CartoonNetwork.com. I didn't have the means to watch the Batman on TV, but I did play the Flash animation game where you're in the Batboat chasing after Mr. Freeze, and you've got to dodge icebergs or set torpedoes to break them, which also reminds me, it's kind of ironic that as toyetic as Batman Forever was, that they would not put any working gadgets on the Batboat. I, for one, would have loved to have seen Robin use some torpedoes before getting hit by the mines and had to eject. David. Thanks, David. So that is fun that there was an old Batman Flash game. I don't remember Flash as in the old animation style, right?
Yes, that sounds awesome.
That does sound super fun. I wonder if there's an emulator out there for it, but how funny. And I agree with you. And I think we even said that as oh, this is kind of fun that Mr. Freeze is just a crook, but it feels a little simple after Heart of Ice. And then, yeah, it always bothered me in Batman Forever that like Robin jumps in the Batboat and takes off, and then immediately it blows up and he's out. And it's like, he didn't do anything with the Batboat. It was literally just there.
All we did was sell some toys.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's right.
having the Batboat matter a little more in that movie. Yeah, I agree. Would have been nice.
For sure.
All right, we're going to move over to Twitter. I got a few more here. This one here is from Batman Mirror 1989. It says, what do you want to see in the Blue Beetle trailer? And what do you think the box office range is for The Flash? I see between 500 million and $1 billion if it's well received. I don't know how big Michael Keaton's Batman is overseas, but Batman always gets people talking. And when do you think we'll get the Superman casting? All right. Blue Beetle trailer, which allegedly we're going to get this week.
Oh gosh, I don't think I knew that.
That is the scuttlebutt around Twitter.
I knew there was some talk recently, like maybe last week, earlier this week. I saw something, but I didn't realize it was supposed to come down this coming week. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. I want to see Blue Beetle.
Yeah, I just want to see the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't have a lot of like, oh, it better have this, it better have this, it better have this. I just hope they do a really good job selling us on Jaime Reyes and getting us invested in him. And then I want to see that Blue Beetle costume, which we've seen shots of, and it looks awesome, but I want to see it as it's shot for the movie and how badass it looks.
Yeah, man.
Pretty simple.
It looks so cool. Gosh, yeah, I don't really know. I mean, yeah, like I said, I just want to see that trailer. I'm so pumped that we're getting that. This is awful. I feel like I keep forgetting that we're getting that with all the news of
everyone does, including Brendan, which is why he got fired.
Shit, that's not good for me then.
Yeah. So, but I think that's the problem is, I mean, they haven't started marketing yet, so fair is fair, but yeah, everyone keeps forgetting about Blue Beetle. So what I hope is that the trailer is so cool that unlike Shazam 2, people go, oh, I got to see that.
I just feel like with who they have involved in that movie, it's just going to be a really fun kind of upbeat tone. And yeah, I mean, like you said, hopefully the trailer and the marketing campaign that kind of coincides with that, hopefully we get a good marketing campaign. Looking at Shazam here, hopefully that can equate to it making some money.
Yeah. What do you think is the box office range for The Flash?
It's such a good question. Let me put it this way, and this is put it as simply as possible. If Aquaman can do over $1 billion, I very much believe The Flash can do over $1 billion. I think that's what's that?
No, I agree with you.
You agree? Yeah, I mean, I know that's looking at it maybe a little too simple, but I think the writing is on the wall for this to be a really good movie. Like objectively speaking, hell, we've heard from Tom freaking Cruise at this point that it's a great movie, and think about how they're.
But will Nicole Kidman go see it at the AMC theater?
She
is the question.
Yes.
Because Heartbreak feels good.
Yes, she will. The writing is on the wall for this thing to be objectively good, I feel like. In the way that they're doing the premiere, and they have a ton of faith.
They're showing it in the next couple of weeks, right? When is where are they showing it? CinemaCon?
Yes, they're showing it at CinemaCon.
And when is that? That's coming up.
That's coming up very soon. Yes, that's coming up here.
I mean, they're showing it months in advance. I agree with you. I think $1 billion is on the table, but I don't want to tempt fate. So, I mean, your range of 500 to $1 billion, I think is a great range because yes, I think it'll fall absolutely in there. But I mean, I think that if we could hit Wonder Woman's 800, everyone will be happy.
Yeah, and I guess the one note I would make, and I know you're thinking this too, Andy, with my, Aquaman comparison, it is important to note this isn't 2018 anymore.
Yeah.
This is a post-pandemic film we're talking about. So who the heck knows? It's an undetermined market to this point.
Yes. But unlike Shazam 2, and it sounds like we're throwing shade. We're not. We like the movie. We're
Yes,
not
we
throwing
do.
shade. But unlike Shazam 2, that Flash trailer did get people to go, I need to see that.
Dude, I hate to say this. I would have paid money. I mean, I would have paid money just to see that trailer in theater and left. It's
Yeah.
just that's how much that trailer speaks volumes. I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then final question, when do we think we'll get Superman casting? What is it? It is April, May, June. Let's say July. How's that sound? July will be exactly 2 years out. That feels like a good time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, why not? Hey, make it July 27th, my birthday. Boom.
Perfect. There you go, guys. Exclusive. Holy BatCast exclusive. Superman casting to be announced July 27th. You heard it here first.
We're going to have James Gunn tweeting at us. What did we just do?
It would be my pleasure for James Gunn to debunk us. I would happily accept it. All right. Next one here is from Chris Schisler. It's Footballman 58. It says, outside of the Joker, Two-Face is my favorite villain. So what's more likely to give me the top Two-Face in a Batman movie? Matt Reeves' universe or the DCU Brave and the Bold? And do you have any favorite Two-Face comics? All right, Chris, thank you. So it's a great question.
That really is, isn't it? I guess it's all about what you want from Two-Face.
The answer is neither. The answer is Gotham Knights, Chris. Gotham Knights.
Yikes.
Sorry. Couldn't help it. It was right there. I will say, I mean, and when you think about, again, like, I mean, Matt Reeves can go anywhere he wants in the sequel. It'll be interesting to see what direction he goes. But based on the first film, Two-Face, I think, is a very natural fit into that world. Because he is a much more, he can be played much more realistic and ground level, and like there's no powers or anything. So I think it would be very, and Gotham needs a DA after the first movie. So I feel like Harvey Dent and or Two-Face would be very likely in the Reeves verse, and I think that you could very easily do him. I think you could get a very creepy version of him based on the creepy Riddler we got in the first film. So if I was putting money on it, I would say the Reeves verse, especially if the DCU wants to go more fantastical.
Yeah, man, I actually agree with that. And honestly, I agree with it mostly because I just prefer that colder, darker, more serious version of Two-Face and Harvey Dent. So I think that could be accomplished, obviously, much better in the Reeves verse. Yeah, I think that would kind of go hand in hand together.
Yeah. And then any favorite Two-Face stories from the comics?
Yeah, man. You know what? I'll actually give a shout out to our buddy Ryan and the great work he does over at the Batman Book Club. We actually just covered a Two-Face story over there a couple weeks ago from Batman and Robin Adventures. Of course, the comic adaptation of Batman the Animated Series. Well, I shouldn't say adaptation, but the comic version of Batman the Animated Series. And we covered a story called Two-Timer. And man, this thing, one thing I kept saying in that episode is I'm like, I just feel like this has been ripped off our television screen and put into a comic book form. How unbelievably well, like it was the comic version of that. It just translated so good. So that was a really cool story. And, I really enjoyed talking about it. So yeah, Two-Timer. Be sure to check that out from Batman and Robin Adventures. That's certainly the first one that comes to my mind.
Awesome. The only one that jumps to mind is A Lonely Place of Dying.
Yeah.
Because Two-Face is the main villain in that. And then there was that, oh my God, there was that Batman annual. Batman Two-Face annual. And I don't even remember if the story is good, but it has that super iconic cover. So here, Annual 14, Batman Annual 14, and it has that really iconic, amazing Two-Face cover from 1990. Neil Adams did the cover.
Yes.
And it makes me want to go read it because I remember this amazing cover and I think the story was good. So that's the other one that just pops to mind.
That's so cool. I love that. Yeah, that's an awesome piece of artwork right there.
Yeah. All right, next message is from Jason Miller or Skeagle78. It says, what Batman story would you like to see in film? My pick would be based on the Gotham Knights game with Batman missing and Nightwing, Red Hood, Batgirl, and Tim Drake working together to solve the case. Also, are you looking forward more to the Batman 2 or the Brave and the Bold? So first question, first of all, I love the idea. Like, I've always loved that idea of Batman missing, not murdered, but missing.
Yeah.
And then the Bat family having to band together to protect Gotham and find Bruce. I've always loved that as a conceit. If I was a gamer, I'd play Gotham Knights for that reason, but I would watch the hell out of that in a movie. As far as a Batman story you'd like to see in a film, any thoughts, Preston?
Oh, I got thoughts, man. And something tells me
Okay.
something tells me you might be down with this, Andy. Just hear me out. Hear me out. Batman Noel.
Oh, hell yes. Absolutely.
Come on.
Absolutely.
Give me Gotham, Christmas, and Batman goodness. I want that badly.
Yep. I love that idea. I've always said this. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Like, I've always wanted a Batman and Robin trilogy where the first movie is sort of an adaptation of Robin's Reckoning.
Yeah.
Really focused on Dick Grayson. The second movie is really an adaptation of A Death in the Family about Jason Todd. And then the third film would be A Lonely Place of Dying, focused on Tim Drake. So you kind of get a movie for each of the first three Robins.
You give me a moment. I'm going to get my wallet. That sounds wonderful.
And then this is a good question for you. Are you looking forward more to the Batman 2 or the Brave and the Bold?
Man, that is such a difficult question. Either way it goes, it's going to be so close. I'm going to say the Batman 2. I'm going to say the Batman 2. I feel like that.
Are you just saying that because I'm going to say the Brave and the Bold?
Maybe.
All right, great. We're covering all bases here.
No, I will say, you know more than anybody how much I loved the first one. So I feel like that's a bit of an advantage. I've already gotten that little taste. I want more so badly versus something I don't even know what we're getting. Right. So I feel like that's, but oh my God, I can't wait for all the above. Come on.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yes, I think that is a big part of it is like with the Batman 2, we know what we're getting, and the Brave and the Bold is still a big question mark, but that's exciting. I'm excited to see what that new version of Batman will be like. And I love that he will have a Robin.
Absolutely.
All right. Next message is from Daniel Dimov. And this one we've already answered, but I wanted to give you credit, Daniel. He said, what did you guys think of Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn look from the set photos and videos online? I think she has potential to be even better than Margot Robbie's version. So we already talked about this, Daniel, but I thank you for asking, and hopefully you appreciated the discussion earlier. Even better than Margot Robbie's is, it's big shoes to fill, but I mean, if anyone can do it, it's Gaga. She can do anything.
Now, that's going to be really interesting to be able to kind of sit back and, fair or not, kind of compare the two. And how different they could end up being. That's going to be interesting.
For sure. Next message is from Kevin for 11. It says, since Gunn's new DCU will have at least a 10-year plan, and Damian is going to be the DCU Robin, are you concerned that he'll age quickly to the point where he's even older than he's been in the comics? I think it's a missed opportunity to not start with Dick Grayson and work their way down the Robin line over the next 10 years instead of jumping directly to Damian. Kevin, I agree with you. We talked about this when we did the whole thing, but I agree with you. I do wish they were starting at the very beginning. I didn't even think about the age thing. I just feel like you're jumping over a lot of great stuff by going right to Damian. Yeah. But the age thing is a very valid point that, he's going to age quickly. So he's going to be an adult before we know it. So I hope that they plan accordingly. It's a great point. Any thoughts, Preston?
I just think, looking at previous Batman stuff, look at Chris O'Donnell, for God's sakes. Like, I feel like this is something you just have to.
He was already shaving his balls with Bruce's Manscaped.
Yeah. God.
I hear. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Imagine if there was a scene of him kung fu shaving his balls the same way he kung fu'd his laundry. God. And Alfred just watching.
Shame.
Just watching him
Shame on you.
trim those little robin eggs up. And when
Oh,
he's done,
Christ.
he just gives Alfred the big thumbs up. And Alfred's like, very smooth balls, sir.
Oh, damn it, Andy. What was the question?
I don't remember. What were we talking about? Damien getting old fast. I think that was
oh my God. I just think that that's just something you have to contend with in film. You know what I mean? Franchises deal with this, and it's just a thing.
Yeah.
God.
All right. This next question is from Liam Made Visible. It says, which fast food chain would you like a tie-in for Batman Part 2 or Batman the Brave and the Bold?
Oh man.
And
Speaking
I
of language.
I love this. I love a good fast food tie-in. So let's do one at a time. The Batman Part 2. Which food place should do a tie-in?
Oh my gosh, what food place should do a tie-in for Batman Part 2? What is like the darkest, grimiest burger joint like that we have? Like
a hole in the wall, greasy spoon that,
yes.
has like a C in the window for their health rating.
Like you can buy Vengeance as a side dish there.
Yeah.
Oh, what is that? What could that be? Vengeance in my stomach is Taco Bell. I don't know if that would, equal things out. I feel like we haven't got a good marketing kind of tie-in campaign with Taco Bell in a while. I remember this.
You're right.
I remember episode 1 back in the day, those cool cups.
And Batman and Robin.
Oh shit, that's right.
And Batman 89.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Let's why not? Why not give me that? It's funny for not that this was a fast food tie-in, but for the Batman we got Little Caesars.
Yes, correct.
Remember the Little Caesars pizza?
I do. Yeah. I really enjoyed it, but I also feel like we can do better for the next one.
We can do much better.
Like, I liked the bat. What was it called? The bat, not the Pizookie, the bat calzone.
Yes.
I loved it. I thought it was great. Fabulous. Good. 10 out of 10 would recommend. But I feel like let's branch out for the next one. Here's what I say. In the first one, remember there's the moment where Edward Ashton's, he's drinking coffee at the diner.
Oh.
So I say for the Batman Part 2, we go with Denny's. Because Denny's does some they've done some really fun movie tie-in menus over the years.
My thing with Denny's though, I feel like there's 7 left.
What do you mean?
Okay, I guess I'm wrong. Maybe it's a regional thing, dude. I feel like I haven't seen a Denny's in forever.
Oh, we got plenty of them. Plenty of them. They did a Hobbit tie-in, and I still dream about the Gandalf turkey sandwich that I ate.
Oh my God.
I think they did a Solo tie-in. So and these are relatively recent. So like the Batman 2 at Denny's, they could have a whole Batman menu, and I'm into it.
I was just thinking you were gonna say Starbucks or something like that. Then you pulled Denny's out.
Everybody loves Denny's. It's an American institution. Scott Calvin told us in the Santa Claus.
You're right. You're right.
And then I would say Brave and the Bold for Taco Bell.
Okay, for Taco Bell. Dude, I don't know, man. For Brave and the Bold, I'm thinking a classic Happy Meal tie-in.
I'm good with that too.
I don't want to be boring, but I feel like McDonald's could really rock some Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, hell yeah. Especially if they give us cups or glasses. We love
yes.
Awesome. Next message is from BDub3815. It says, we've all heard that Andy is a score whore, which is true. But what is everyone's favorite overall movie score? And what is your favorite piece from a score? Batman 89 and The Dark Knight are probably my favorites, along with The Curse of the Black Pearl and Broken Arrow. Thanks, B-Dub. So, I think you're a score guy too. Yes?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man, it's funny, as a score whore, I don't think I've ever picked a favorite movie score.
Oh.
Okay. So if I'm going to pick a favorite movie score, I'm going to go with Batman, Danny Elfman.
Okay. Oh, and I could never fault you for that.
I mean, it's the movie score that got, I mean, much like Batman got me into movies and
Yeah.
into Batman, that score got me into movie scores. So maybe that's easy. So yeah, Danny Elfman, Batman, 1989, probably my favorite overall movie score ever.
Do you have a favorite track from that album?
Descent into Mystery.
All right.
That's the one where after he rescues Vicky from the museum and they're driving through the trees towards Wayne Manor, towards the Batcave, and oh man,
all
yeah.
those leaves blowing on the
Yep.
street.
Oh, it's like one of my favorite scenes, favorite piece of music. But favorite piece from a score, I'm going to go away from Batman, and it is the big finale music from E.T. the Extraterrestrial, John Williams.
Oh, wow.
That whole final 15 minutes of score, the whole chase, all the way back to where E.T. goes away with in the ship and everything, that whole final piece is just perfection. And I listen to it, and it's amazing.
Man, that's tough. I definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, know my favorite score, my favorite album as a whole.
All right.
The piece of music is going to kind of stump me, but without question, my favorite score is 1978's Halloween.
Excellent. It was in the back of my head, so thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go with that. If I'm picking a track off that, and it's not the theme, I won't pick the theme just because. It would probably be The Haunted House.
Yeah.
I love that track.
Absolutely.
Man, you talk about just setting a mood and a tone. I love it so dearly. You know, and I hate to say this because I don't want to sound super generic when I say one of my favorite like individual pieces or tracks. But literally one of the first things my head went to as far as a favorite goes is, man, it's never not moved me damn near to tears every time, is Time in Inception.
That's amazing. That's a great choice too.
I mean, that is, that is like, you know, hair on your arm raising type of stuff. So yeah, I'll give a shout out to that one.
That's awesome. I mean, I could send lists and lists and lists of favorite movie scores and favorite tracks. And so a couple quick honorable mentions. You mentioned Halloween. That's a great one. Jaws, Jurassic Park.
Oh man.
Superman, the movie. Twister.
Hell yeah.
Dead Silence.
Ooh.
Pirates of the Caribbean, to your point, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, dude, Pirates is great.
So there you go. There's just a few off the top. Oh, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, God. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, this sounds like a whole episode of RF for RM right here.
It could be. I mean, not Scotty, sorry. Jamie and I did a horror movie score one, not last Halloween, but 2 Halloweens ago.
I remember that.
Yeah, so we did do that, but I'm down to do more score talk because I love it. All right, next message is from Castro Garcio. It says, if you could choose a DC comic book run to either become a live-action trilogy or a movie arc, which one would it be? Thank you. So we had some ideas for other stories, but I don't know. I'm almost reading this to be like, what's DC's version of the Infinity Gauntlet? Like, what is a big arc that could become a trilogy or just like part of the shared universe story?
What about like Final Crisis?
Yeah. Like all crises are, I think, great options. You know.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. But yeah, I mean, I've extolled the virtues of this one in the past, but it never hurts to say it again, and that is Identity Crisis.
Yeah.
Identity Crisis is a masterpiece, and I couldn't recommend it higher. It's just amazing. So I think that you could definitely make a trilogy or an overarching arc. It's really great. And then we were talking about like, oh man, if we're talking about like Batman, I don't know.
God, I mean, it's almost one of those situations like, you name it, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Like,
it's true. But if you think about like oh my God, like Blackest Night would be cool. You know, like we're already getting a version of Flashpoint. So I'm just thinking of like,
Yeah.
yeah, like these big crossover events that could be a lot of fun
Right.
to turn into movies.
Oh my gosh, this is going to be one of those questions where, like, tonight at 1 a.m. when I'm in bed, I'll be like, "Oh damn it, why didn't I think of that?"
I
Or
know. Agreed. All right. The next message is from 1/6 Shape. It says, when will you guys finally start reviewing Batman 66? It's a fair question, and the answer is someday. Maybe when we get done with the Batman animated series.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe so.
I think
That
it's
would
a
be
fair
cool.
question, and you're right. We should do that.
Well, I want you guys to do that so it'll give me an excuse to go back through them. I like that idea.
Nice. I actually just put some on a couple weeks ago, and I don't put it on nearly enough because whenever I do, it is great. It makes me so
Yeah.
happy.
I know, man.
All right, the next question is from Salvatore. It's at Pure Genius Mega, and it says, this could be an episode. What are some pitfalls that the DCU should avoid as they build the new universe?
Oh my goodness.
There you go.
First of all, pick up a history book and learn from the wrong, I don't even know how to put this. Just, there's been so many mistakes made in the last decade.
Yeah.
Learn from them.
Yeah. I will say, and again, it's something I brought up relatively recently, but it is my biggest concern, is connected is good. Too connected can shoot you in the foot.
Big time.
And that is my fear. And I think that is a huge pitfall that they need to avoid. They need to find the balance of like having it all be connected is great, but you cannot assume everyone is going to watch everything. Someone has to be able to jump in at any point. And so things have to be standalone enough. And I was just having this conversation with some other friends about Marvel, because I think sometimes Marvel does it very well and sometimes they do it less well. But like I put up, and it's one of my favorite Marvel movies in the past few years, Shang-Chi. I loved Shang-Chi, and I thought it was the perfect balance of both. You can watch it knowing nothing and have a great time and understand it, and it's a good movie. And there are just enough connective things to the greater MCU that it rewards the hardcore fans, but it doesn't rely on those connections the way, say, Multiverse of Madness. If you didn't watch WandaVision, Multiverse of Madness is very confusing.
Oh, you'd be lost. I mean, literally, the villain in the movie. Last time you saw her, she would have been good.
Yeah, so like those. I think just using MCU, because obviously it's the example that's easy to use. That I feel like those are two good examples of a great example and a cautionary tale.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very valuable lesson that should be adapted to very quickly. Because it can be exhausting. You know what I mean? It can be exhausting, especially to people who are general moviegoers who, can't sit through 10 hours of content before seeing the new big summer movie.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, and this is a lesson we could learn from DC, and I've said it 100 times, every movie can't be a course correction.
Say that again.
So we said it before. I know it's easier said than done, but commit.
Yes.
Stick to the plan.
And also, speaking of sticking to the plan, one thing I think that really annoyed so many of us DC fans was the constant announcements that seemingly led to absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So, like you said, if you have a plan, see it out, Yeah. I think that's a very, very good place to start.
Yep. Anything else that you can think of, Preston?
No, I think those are all great points for sure. I think there's a lot of lessons that should be carried on.
Yep, for sure. All right, we got one last one here. So thanks for your patience and thanks for hanging out, Preston. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course.
One last one. This is from Alexander Hill. It says, hey guys, out of all the canceled Batman and DC films, which one do you wish had made it to the big screen?
Oh,
For me,
man.
it's Wolfgang Petersen's Batman vs. Superman and Justice League Mortal. Thanks, guys. Love the show. Thanks, Alexander. All right. Canceled Batman or DC movies that you wish you could have seen.
Phew, this is tough, man. I've got, you know what? I'm actually going to agree with him. I'm going to go with George Miller's Justice League. That was one of the first things that came to my mind. Um, first of all, I love George Miller.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been very interested to see what he could have done. That was such an interesting. It's so like unbelievable that almost happened. In hindsight, just because we were in the middle of, you know, oh my god,
The
I'm going
Dark
so
Knight
blank here.
trilogy.
The Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of the Dark Knight trilogy, and we were about to get a whole new Justice League with freaking Armie Hammer as Batman, right?
Yeah.
I'm very curious of what that would have been like. You know, I also think, not that this is Batman, I clearly think of, was it Superman Lives? Is that right?
Yes, I was absolutely going to bring that one up. Superman Lives.
I think of that. Like, I mean, that looked super cool. I love that documentary so much.
I know.
Those are a couple that come to mind first. I know I'm forgetting something though. There has to be.
Yeah, I mean, it got canceled really early, but I would have loved Tim Burton's Batman 3, whatever that was going to be.
Yeah.
Oh my god, there was something that was like more recent, because you're right, so much stuff got announced and then nothing came of it. Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. Right? I mean, I know it's recent, but you know, I still wish I could see those.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Oh, what about I mean, we don't really know what this would have been, but what about the Nightwing project?
Yeah. And most recently, Chris McKay got asked about that because he directed Renfield, which I'm very excited about.
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
As he's been doing press for that, someone asked about it, and he even said something about like, "Oh, I haven't talked to James Gunn, but I would still love to do it." So that's nice. But yeah, that one still kind of hurts that nothing ever came of that.
Oh, and you talk about even more recent. The damn Trench Black Manta movie.
Yeah.
Come on. That sucks.
I'm still bummed we didn't get a Green Lantern 2 with Ryan Reynolds and Mark Strong as Sinestro.
Man, he was so good as Sinestro too.
I know, like it's and again, I get it, but I'm bummed because I know people who did not like that movie, but like they said at the end, they're like, when Sinestro put on the yellow ring, they were like, now that's a movie I'd like to see. It's like, yeah, no shit. Yeah.
Oh my god. And I would be so remiss if we didn't mention Affleck's The Batman.
That was the one that I forgot. Yes. That. Affleck's
that's
Batman.
Probably that is probably number one. Like
I think I agree. Yeah.
That's probably number one. And that hurts.
Yeah, man, it does.
That hurts. We gotta get that script someday. That needs to leak at some point. I want to read that script.
Being a DC fan is pain. It's nothing but pain.
But we keep on coming back.
But you know what? Exactly. Here we are on a Saturday night talking about it.
That's right.
All right, that's it for the questions. Thank you to everybody who wrote in. Great questions all over, like really fun stuff. It is fun to like spark conversation and we love it. And even if we don't always have the best answer off the top of our head, hopefully you forgive us, but it always does spark good, fun, nerdy conversation. So thank you guys, everybody who took the time to write in. We love it. We appreciate it. If you've got something for the next episode, which now that I think about it is probably going to be about the Blue Beetle trailer, because I even forgot that was coming out this week until it got brought up. But if you got something for the next episode, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. That'll do it for this episode. Preston, thanks for hanging out tonight. It was fun.
Oh, buddy, thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much, listeners, for sticking around to this point. I'm so sorry that our normal folks, Brendan and Jamie couldn't be here, but I hope you enjoyed yourself. It was always a pleasure, or as always, it's a pleasure Yeah, you can keep up with me, of course, on Twitter at Preston967. I'm there. I'm on Facebook. I'm on the Real Fans group. I'm on Letterboxd. You can find me at Preston967 on there as well. I hope you'll keep up with me. And thanks again, Andy. This was awesome, man.
It was. I appreciate you being here. So thank you, everybody out there. Thanks for joining us and for downloading or streaming the show. Please do subscribe or follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. And please rate and review us where you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts is, where most of them go, but wherever you get it, if you like the show, something you can do to support us that doesn't cost a single penny, and it just takes a minute, is to rate and review us. That would be awesome. Visit holybatcast.com. Find Holy BatCast again on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that's holybatcast at rf4rm.com. There are all the other shows that are part of the network. You can check those out at rf4rm.com. On the last episode, Jamie kind of teased a new Real Fans episode that was coming, and it got postponed a week. We jinxed it. But hopefully, by the time you're listening to this, it will be coming very soon. So keep an eye on the Real Fans feed because we got something fun coming there. But all the other shows are a good time. Check those out. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsors at manscaped.com. Go to manscaped.com. Find out how to best groom your little robin eggs. And if you're going to buy something, use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. But that'll do it. On behalf of Preston, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. Well, alrighty.
I'm never going to look at Chris O'Donnell the same way again, thanks to you.
You know what? Now that needs to be a deleted scene. So that's
shameful.
That is the canceled Batman movie I want to see is Robin Egg grooming starring Chris O'Donnell. It's not too late.
Release the nut cut.
There it is.
God.
Poor Michael Goff is probably glad he didn't live to see it.
Oh, poor Michael. Poor Alfred.